of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Model Club TV, episode 94. Look at that. As always, my lovely co-host, Scott Johansson. I'm Jason Walker. We are recording late at night, so this could go poorly. How are you, Scott?
Tired.
Been
a rough week.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in about 1 minute. Everybody like, subscribe. We have a Discord. All those links will be down below. This is going to be a Wonderfest preview show here in the beginning a little bit. And we also have an amazing painter, Derek Conlon. I did a little interview and he was a guinea pig. I'm doing a test for going forward. I was thinking of doing more of a deep dive on individual buildups. So if Scott or I find something cool that we've seen, we want to reach out to those people and just maybe have them walk us through how they did it, what their tools are, their paints, and any tips and stuff. So really cool interview there with Derek Conlon. Thank you, Derek, for coming on. So we're going to do a deep dive on the body snatcher from Pestilence Labs. All right. So right up front,
I'm going to do a deep dive on your mom's snatcher.
Dude, it's only... We're 2 minutes, not even a minute in. A minute. No. Oh, my God. All right.
Mother's Day.
It is. All right. Right up front, Scott's got some stuff he wants to talk about. I don't know if he wants to talk about it, but last episode.
After that joke?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last episode, Scott told us he was going for his MRI. So, yeah. Scott, take it away, sir.
Fidgeting with your stuff there.
It's like a New Year's toy.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make noise.
So we'll start with my MRI.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way.
So they did find a spot that is growing. That is most likely cancer. It will probably take 5 years to be anything. And at that point, there's options: another operation to remove it, freezing it, whatever. The doctor told me if I was 85, I'd probably outlive it. And
you're not 85 for people who are watching.
I feel like I'm 85 today. I asked him because, I'm kind of a blunt person. I said, look, is this going to kill me eventually? And his answer to me was, no, we will do something about it long before that. So, kind of where I was after my first operation.
So for people who don't know, because I think Jamie Sy even didn't know, could you give a little background to what, like before this, people might not even know how many kidneys you have right now.
About 1 3/4, I imagine. So, no, just 3/4 one actually.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed in 2019 with bilateral kidney cancer, which means cancer in both kidneys. Okay. Usually the cure for kidney cancer is to remove the whole kidney and you're good to go. Bilateral means it's in both kidneys, which is rarer, and so of course I had it. The one kidney was almost overtaken with the tumor. And I remember the doctor telling me at the time it probably took 10 years to grow that big. Okay. I had no idea it was there. No symptoms, that's another long story. But anyway, so they took that kidney, and for the next 2 years, they watched the tumor on the other kidney. When the tumor on the other kidney finally grew to a point where it was concerning, they went in and removed a part of my kidney with that tumor on it, which was a pea-sized tumor at that point. So we've been apparently we haven't been clear for 2 years, but so for the last year and I guess now this year, something's still growing there. It's grown 3 millimeters in a year. So kidney cancer is a slow growing thing. People will ask me, why don't they just go in and do it now or do what they want to do now? So it's a long explanation. Look it up. It's the treatment. It's what they do. They're only going to be able to cut this fat bastard so many times. So, so I'm going to be around a while anyway. Will this affect my quality of life down the road? It may.
Yeah.
But for right now, I'm good.
Well,
Screwed up my head a little bit, but it's
as it
all
should.
right.
I think if it didn't screw with your head, there'd be something wrong. So, I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we love you, and whatever you need, when you have those down days, those up days, we'll figure it out. We'll get you through it, and you're in
Anybody
you're in
out there
better
with a B
spirits than I
positive
would be.
kidney?
What's that?
Anybody out there with a B positive kidney?
I don't know. I have to look at mine. But again, we talked. I don't know if you want my kidneys. They're
That was something's better than nothing.
I don't know.
I did tell the doctor at some point if he had to ever take it, I'd do the pig kidney because they did put a pig kidney in that one guy.
Yeah.
The doctor says, "Yeah, and it worked." And he says, "Is that guy still alive?" And I'm like, "You're the doctor. I would think you'd be following that, okay?" But I did look it up. The guy is still alive.
Awesome.
So.
Well, we got that out of the way. It's been I think both of us have had a really, really hard couple weeks here with some stuff going on. You want a stepdaughter update? You want to do that?
So she was operated on Tuesday. A little more positive news in mine. As positive as it can be. And again, and I don't want to put her business out there, but
yeah,
she had breast cancer and did lose a breast because of it. 32 years old, young girl. She is going to have reconstruction and all that, but it's still, as any of our women watchers can attest, it's still something that's very traumatic. Anyway,
I don't want to speak for her, but I would imagine, like, most people when you have cancer, you can't tell where it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have breast cancer, it's one of those things that if you have to have a mastectomy, it's pretty obvious. Like, you have to try and hide that then if you don't want people to know. And it's I'm sure that's super stressful and for anyone. So my heart goes out to her as well.
She's doing well.
Yeah.
For the most part, she's got a good attitude about it. They took some lymph nodes that were all positive or negative. I'm sorry. They were all positive news. There's positive news. They were all negative. Now that's in the operating room. They still send them out, but the operating room's like 90% accurate most of the time. So it looks like we're good. Nothing, we'll know more when she gets her pathology. Yeah.
That reminded me of the Seinfeld episode where George calls the doctor about the skin thing, and they go, "It's negative." He goes, "No." They're like, "Negative is good." He's like, "Oh, okay."
Then she called me last night and scared the bejesus out of me. Because she's like, all, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "Go outside, the aurora, the northern lights, you can see them." So she scared the bejesus out of me. But yeah, so we were able to see the northern lights.
I didn't. Super cloudy here. Didn't see anything. Was going to try maybe after we're done recording tonight to see, but that's one of my bucket list things. I've always wanted to see that. So
poor things out on our porch last night.
Well, we had friends in the Panhandle of Florida able to see it. Sent us pictures. So
Lance Woods, one of our good friends, posted some pictures, which I'm surprised he could see over his fence. But yeah. What?
That was funny.
So,
for those you don't know, Lance is short. Oh, that made me cry. That's funny.
Anyway.
So again, it just I got some other news that I can't share right now that I will down the road, and just think back to this episode. That really hit me pretty hard too this week. And when I can't talk about that, I will. Work has been absolutely awful for me, and I don't know how I'm going to make it to retirement. But you know what? We forgot about one other bad news item. Oh my God. So right as we're setting up to go live, Scott, what news broke?
Well, I think you should do it because you're probably a bigger fan than I am.
Dude, Roger Corman passed away. Master, producer, director, master of the schlock, low budget boob movie, horror movie, like legend. Roger Corman passed away. I think all I want everyone to do, I can't even go through and list the movies. There's so many. As a producer, I think it was 504, like ridiculous amount of work that this man has done, and a absolute legend in the industry, and especially in the subject matter that we like in this hobby. So like, my heart goes out to his family. He was up there. If he was just on Joe Bob on the last drive-in being interviewed a couple of years ago or a year ago. I'll try and go find what episode that was and post that next episode or put it in the links down below. But yeah, Roger Corman is gone. And so there we go. That was our last piece of bad news for the episode. Wow. Anyway. Scheduling news. We are not going to have an episode here on the 30th because we will be driving to Wonderfest. So this month, we're only having this episode on the 15th, which is going to be kind of our Wonderfest preview, like we just said. But we're going to do a live episode when we come back. I'm not sure what day it's going to happen. We'll figure that out as we go, and I'll post information either on Discord, Facebook, and let people know, and I'll probably do it through YouTube. But next episode will be a live one after Wonderfest in June sometime, beginning of June. That being said, we have giveaways this episode. They will be given away on that live episode. So you have a longer time to enter if you choose. So our first giveaway, we're going to have two from the same person, one from another. The first one is from, and I'm going to throw this up on the web window. George Stevenson donated, kept a man of his word. He's the honorable George Stevenson kept his word. And he's giving us two figures, a Judge Dredd and a Judge Anderson. And I only took one out of the package. So like, here's the pictures of it. I'm going to throw back up to just me for a second. There we go. Here's the scale. So we're looking at, this is the scale of the figure. This is Judge Dredd, but it also comes with really cool, the motorcycle. And it's 4 parts for the bike. A wheel, some forks, the forks that go with the motorcycle, and the saddle. So here's those parts. It's better to look at the pictures. So check it out. That's the parts right there. That's the size of the bike. So it's smaller figure, but I like the smaller stuff. So Judge Anderson, Judge Dredd is our first giveaway.
Is that 3D printed, the whole thing?
So I was going to say, the bike is cast, resin cast. The figure, which comes with arms as well, is 3D printed. And the holster is like paper thin. It's like to scale, really cool. And there's also some clear parts that are 3D printed. And I think or cast, I'm not sure, that go with the bike for the headlamps and some other smaller parts that go with the bike. So 2 really cool kits. Now, Scott, I have a question. Should these both go to the same person as a set, or do we split them up?
2 figures, 1 bike?
2 bikes, 2 figures.
We'll split them up. Well,
because they kind of go together.
They do kind of go together.
Let's do both to the same.
Okay.
Let's do that. So for both Judge Dredd kits, we have Judge Dredd, Judge Anderson. In the comments down below,
here comes the judge.
Perfect. Here comes the judge. Thank you, Blackheart Models. Links will be down below. Thank you, George Stevenson, for the donation. We deeply appreciate it. Links will be there. Everything. Check it out. Here comes the judge to get these kits. All right. Scott, what do you have to give away? I'll throw those pictures up.
Well, our good friend Paul Gill.
Oh, wait.
Wait,
time out. Wait, time out. I forgot one thing. I have a close-up of the bike. Go real quick. There's a close-up of the bike, so you can kind of see it a little better. All right, next kit.
Okay, so our next kit, and the pictures were painted by Joe Hudson, is Lady V. Lady V is out of production. Okay. It was a commission for a private collector. Only a few copies made. There are a few artist proof given away, including one to us, sculpted by Mark Van Tine. Donated by Paul Gill. Okay. Now, if I may, because the fun never stops.
Let's see if the buttons work.
So, Paul did send this to me, so this is it. Good size.
But let me go right to you. Hold up. Let me get you in there. There we go.
So good size 2-piece. Okay. Now, this is what everyone doesn't. Okay. Mr. Van Tine.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, so this is the Bigfoot edition. It's not only an artist proof, it's the artist proof there's a Bigfoot. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
So, in the comments, if you would like to win this Bigfoot edition, I think Paul posed for that, actually. Not sure. Kind of looks like Paul's feet. I love the fly. A little fly in there. It's just fantastic. So thanks, Mark Van Tine, for the drawing. I almost wish I could keep it for the drawing. But speaking of drawings, how about in the comments, the lady is a vamp.
Look at you on fire tonight. The lady is a vamp. That's great.
Yeah, so good.
So we have Here Comes the Judge and Lady.
The lady is a vamp.
The lady is a vamp. All right. Those are our two giveaways. They will be given away on the live show. I will put up, little reminders here and there because it's going to be a while. We got about a month probably before the next episode.
Wow. I'm on Model Club hiatus.
Yeah, it's we're going to get a vacation a little bit. It feels like, which we need. And we'll talk more about this because, again, this is kind of like the season finale for us, this episode. And then the one after episode starts the new season. And then going forward, I want to do, like I said, more live episodes and maybe just switch things up a little bit here and there. But, man, it's a grueling schedule trying to get this out twice a month, especially with a lot of the stuff going on lately. And that might change if we miss an episode here and there going forward. I think Scott and I both had a conversation this week about time being valuable and in light of some things that have happened. And, we love doing the show. Well, Scott sometimes. And we'll keep doing it, but things might change a little bit here and there just to give us a little break once in a while.
People weren't sending me messages begging me to stay on because you and that other fucking house ape are such doldrums, okay? All right, Scott, please don't leave. Okay? So, yeah.
Well, someone said, I forget what it was. I guess at some point this isn't going to be here anymore because at some point we're both going to go, you know what? Enough's enough. I think we're done.
Might happen during the live episode.
Yeah, it might. You never know.
If you don't hit that start stream button.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So here we go. News and reviews. So we're going to do those Wonderfest preview videos. The first one's from Dan Gardon. It was his idea, so he gets to go first. We only got 2 videos, which is more than I thought we were going to get. I thought right in the end, we got one today from the Warthling. So, and they didn't follow the rules, of course, and it's longer than we asked, and that's fine. But we have some pictures to show after each one. We have a preview, some pictures from Nostalgic Resin Productions and from Jesse in Garage Kits US. And so we'll have those. And so what?
Garage Kits US? Yes, it's Garage Kits US Creative. Creative now? Boy, now I'm going to be in trouble.
Uh-oh. Should we leave this in?
Why not? What's the worst he can do?
Yeah, just yell at you.
Yes, Garage Kit GKUS Creative is the Facebook page.
Okay, so that's where we're at with the name.
Woo.
Whew. All right, so first up, Dan Gardon. Here's our first video.
Hey everybody, it's Dan from Sci-Fi Models and Stuff, and I'm here with a quick Wonderfest update. So let me start by saying that this is by far the biggest year for me, and despite being dog-tired already in April, I am super excited for the show in just about a month. So I don't have a lot of time on this video, and I want to be respectful. So let me do a quick run through of almost everything I have on my table this year. So let's start with the big ones first. I will have Henson Tribute kits available at the show. This kit has been in insane demand, so I normally get about 10 at a time, and generally sell them the same day. For Wonderfest, I'm hoping to have at least that many on hand, maybe a little bit more, we'll see. I've also got the last batch of Beauty's Beast resin kits. This kit made its first debut at Wonderfest 3 years ago in 2021, and again, I am so thankful to everyone who got one, and it's hard to believe that it's still in production, at least until now. Unless something beyond my control happens, this is the last time I'll be offering these kits. I think I have 8 on hand for the show, so stop by and get a shot. So next I'll have some warrior skeletons. These were a big hit last year, and I'm happy to share that we have a new variant coming out, Warrior Skeleton B. This one has a blank shield, so you can paint your own shield art. Here's my pretty poor attempt. I'm not good at brush painting, but maybe you can do better. Like last year, these come with a wooden base while supplies last. I'll probably do a bundle if you buy both A and B variants. Speaking of skeletons, I'll have a small quantity of mermaid skeletons as well. These are fun to build, but really a pain to produce. So they were made in very limited numbers. These include the base, mounting hardware, everything that's shown here. I also plan on having some Hellboy stuff, mostly some small, cheap minis that I've had before, and a few 3D printed kits. So lastly, to round out the last of my older stock, I'm going to have a few Robotica kits. These are both 3D printed and cast. The majority of parts are now 3D printed. Some Major Tom Space Monkey kits, both clear and opaque visors. And yes, you have all been waiting for it. The last of my sugar water busts. Model Club TV was absolutely instrumental in helping me sell these, and I'm down to the very last 6. These will be at blowout prices at the show, and I really don't want to take them back with me, so come see me, come make an offer, whatever you want to do. Okay, now to the exciting new stuff. First, I've got this awesome quarter-scale Batman bust sculpted by Miguel Zupo. I love this kit. I think it's a really awesome interpretation of Batman, and I really like how clean the design is. I think a lot of people were interested in this kit last year when it debuted, but it finally made its way to the US, so it's a lot easier to get now. I've also got my 1/6 scale that I lovingly call Mr. Bedrock. I made a post on this a few weeks ago in the resin groups, and I'm so happy with this goofy thing. It includes multiple heads, including a Wonderfest exclusive, and different arms for different poses. Really proud of this one. At 1/6 scale, it's huge, it's pretty imposing. Really, really happy with this one. And lastly, I've got a secret kit out. Yep, secret. It's been in the works for a few years now. I'm not sure I've ever publicly talked about it. It's sort of a behind-the-scenes tribute kit of a subject that a lot of people are very passionate about. I will give a quick hint and say that it has nothing to do with Frankenstein or Universal Monsters or Lon Chaney. But I do need some help from the community. So producing kits is really expensive, especially a kit like this that has a lot of parts and a lot of things going on. And I'm not sure that if I take this sculpt and actually produce a resin kit, if there will be interest in it. It may or may not happen. So I will have a prototype on display at the table, and I plan on having some vote jars next to it. So stop by. Let me know if you like it or if you don't like it. If you think it's the worst thing you've ever seen, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to know. And who knows, maybe there will be a surprise related to this, or two, at the table. We'll see. Anyways, again, thank you so much to the guys at Model Club TV for this opportunity to talk. If you want to see more, come visit me at Wonderfest. I will have a table somewhere, don't know where, hopefully in a better location this year. Check out my YouTube. I almost never post videos anymore, so, you know, I'll get around to it eventually. And I'll see everybody in a month.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And Dan also, a couple days later, kind of had a change of heart and sent me this email and this picture. I don't want to impose, but I'm really excited about my super secret kit subject to the point that I can't keep it super secret anymore. Any chance you conclude this email section or the same episode? Who knows? Maybe it'll help your watch time counter. Here's the official email. I wanted to read that because I thought it was kind of funny. In advance of Wonderfest, I've decided to show my new kit. This is a 1/6 3D printed bust tribute to Haruo Nakajima. You might not recognize his name off the bat, but it's guaranteed that you recognize his work. In fact, he's sometimes considered the most well-known Japanese actor ever. Why? Because he is Godzilla. He played everyone's favorite kaiju for 12 consecutive Godzilla films, beginning with the original in 1954. He even played Rodan, Baragon, and yes, even King Kong. This bust is dedicated to his work and the love and joy he showed towards kaiju fans. It depicts the 1954 Gojira suit, which was somewhat unique as the first among other monster suits. The suit was split into two pieces, which Nakajima wore like suspenders and weighed over 200 pounds. It was also hot, so hot that Nakajima often performed in only the bottom half of the suit for fear of passing out in the heat. This bust captures his likeness, joy, and spirit while performing in a simple 3D printed fashion. The part count is low with 12 parts and assembles extremely easily. This allows the builder to swap between Nakajima and Godzilla himself. For now, this bust is an elegant, simple alternative for those seeking a smaller option. Looking forward to what you guys have to say. On a side note, you'll have to excuse the picture. The resin mix is almost exactly the same shade as my backdrop, so it took some doing to get a good picture. I frickin' love this piece. I love it. And so for 2 years in a row, Dan may have my favorite thing at Wonderfest. Last year it was the Jim Henson tribute bust, and this year it could be this.
So you said you could display it as Godzilla. Does he have the top half too?
This is just the bust. He's coming out with a full figure later on.
Gotcha. Okay.
A full 1/6 scale, like he's in there. But I love this version. I haven't seen the other one yet, but I like just the simplicity and like he picked the perfect word for this. It's elegant. It is like a perfect little tribute piece, and it reminds me of I can't remember the guy's name, the Japanese diorama guy that did a lot of Hobby Japan stuff, and it reminds me of his work. Just this, like I love this piece. Love it. So I hope he lets me get it before the show opens, but because last year I didn't make it over to the table till the last day. So
that's because you don't leave the table.
I know, because that's what you're not supposed to leave the table.
I disagree.
All right. Up next from the Warthlings. Here is the Warthlings and Pestilence Labs.
Are they both on the video?
No, technically, I think Shanna was filming. So she's holding the camera.
Probably yelling at him in the back.
Probably.
Probably going, hurry up.
So here we go. Here's their video.
Hey Model Club TV, how's it going? Mark Worthling here with Shanna taking video for the Wonderfest preview of what we're planning to bring to the show. Now we can't show everything here, but I just wanted to show some of the stuff that's new, and I'll mention some of the other things that I am bringing that has been to the show before. So we'll start with the smaller format Hellboy busts. So these measure anywhere from 7 to 9 inches tall. Liz is brand new. She'll be at the show. It's first time she's been offered in a smaller format. All resin cast, and is a beautiful piece. Really, really nice. Exactly like the larger version, just smaller, of course. We will also have almost all of the larger format busts at the show, but we won't have the build-ups on display, so just ask if you would like one. Moving on, this is, I think everybody saw the announcement about the Kelly's Heroes busts. This is just the Kelly bust, and based on the feedback I got, so thank you, folks were not thrilled with the smaller format. I can certainly offer that in the future, but I went ahead and I'm going to go with a larger bust for Wonderfest, and this measures about 6.5 inches tall. Not sure the exact scale. It's probably roughly 1/8, something along those lines. Here, the bases will be cast in resin. You can see here, this is 2 more of the bases that I'm preparing right now, just making sure they're absolutely perfect with some putty here before I put them under rubber and prepare them for the show. So all 4 Kelly's Heroes busts will be available. There will be a full set price and an individual price. Moving on, something that I really like, I'm pretty excited about, is the Evel Knievel bust and the Evel Knievel full figure. So this just kind of an experimental print, smaller than I really wanted. I wanted 1/6 scale. Imagine it's about 2 inches taller, and I'm printing that right now actually. The bases for both of these products will be cast in normal resin. Here's the base right here, cast in resin, plus just an example here. They really came out very nice. So it gives it a nice sturdy platform to place the 3D printed figure on. Here's the base for the 1/6 scale increased size full figure. You can see it's a lot bigger. So that'll be fantastic. I'm working on that now. Moving on, the very popular Body Snatcher Boris Karloff, fantastic bust, extremely popular. We've shipped over 70 of these. I'll have these at the show. It is limited. Once it's gone, it's gone. So these will be at the show, and I'll have this build up on the table, of course. Let me shift this over. And whoops. And by the way, the Evel Knievel figure, I just did a Jason there. So the 3 parts, it's split at the waist, and it fits very, very nicely. Thanks to Michael Berglund for doing that for me. The Polywog is an early prototype of the creature from the Black Lagoon. If this ended up in the movie, who knows what would have happened, right? But this was an early design, and they actually had a suit that was tested, and of course they ended up not going with that and went with the design that we all love of the creature. But this is a very cool piece. It'll be 100% 3D printed, and this will be available at the show as well. New in our Young Frankenstein line is Frau Blucher, horses. She is, we'll have her in limited numbers. A lot of these this is also very popular. A full set of 4 just got ordered last night actually. And we'll also have Igor, and I'm going to try to bring some of these skulls. It just fits perfectly in Igor's hand. So anybody that bought an Igor that wants a skull, I'd be happy to do that for you. Just let me know. But it comes with the brain jar, and I'll have all 4 Young Frankenstein busts at the show. Some other things that we will have are full kits, 1/6 scale of the Bride, 1/6 scale figure of the Ardith Bay. I'll have limited numbers of some of the box art tributes, the Godzilla, Creature from the Black Lagoon. We'll have the Millicent Patrick bust. I just don't have one here to show you. It's the one that Jeff Yeager sculpted. It blends into a cave scene, and it's beautiful. And we'll also have the Flash kit that's just now getting shipped out to customers at this time. So in addition to that, I'm sure you've seen the the teasers that we've been putting out there and this very elaborate storyline that's accompanying this surprise kit. It's going to be displayed in this case at the show. I was going to reveal it at the show, but let's see. Oh, geez. So the IRA has not allowed me to show this yet. I'm waiting on permission, but when you see what will be displayed in this case at the show, you're going to flip your lid. It's really, really cool, and I'm hoping some people join the fun with the posts that we're making and see if you can figure out where we're headed with this. So anyways, looking forward to Wonderfest. Can't wait to see everybody. And please come by the table. I can't remember the table numbers, but we're right by Blackheart. And the Model Club TV guys will be right next to us. So come see us and say hello, and we'll look forward to seeing you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Worthlings, for sending it in last minute. They have a little announcement to make as well for Wonderfest. And that
I like
is...
it. I like that little dig. Thank you, Warthlings, for sending that in last minute. Going over the time limit.
I appreciate the effort. I really do. Otherwise, we'd have nothing. So this is also
Mark's the first guy in the world that ever got a F for effort. Okay, I'm just saying.
E capital F. F-O-R-T. We are bringing the last of the Sandy figures from Grease, the movie, Olivia Newton-John, beautifully sculpted by Jeff Yeager in 1/6 scale. All resin kit blowout price of $25 each until they are gone. Great opportunity for anyone to try their hand at painting a female figure. So we have, just in case you forgot, here is the Olivia Newton-John from Grease, Sandy, sculpted, like they just said, by Jeff Yeager. A beautiful sculpt. If you're a fan of Grease, you cannot go wrong for $25. And I think I will probably pick one up if I can for $25.
I've never seen. Look, you got no excuses because you're at the table next to them. Okay, so I'm just saying. You ever see Grease? I'm just curious.
I've seen parts of it.
Okay,
I not my
I'm
thing.
not faulting you for not seeing it. I just
I don't think I've ever wanted to sit down and watch Grease. I think every time I've seen it, it's just been on and I started watching it. But for those of you interested in a Sandy, here's your chance. $25 at Wonderfest. Awesome. All right.
next up, I'm gonna do the commercial because Jesse didn't send a video.
No.
I doubt he'd follow the rules either. Anyway, first up here, okay, is I want to mention that don't forget that at 1 p.m. on Saturday, they will be revealing their new tribute piece at the Garage Kit US Creative, TK US Creative table.
Really? I didn't know anything about this. Okay.
Yeah. So,
so it's a time. Oh, give the time again.
1 p.m. on Saturday. There will be a reveal.
Okay.
I don't believe he will have any for sale yet because there was
oh no.
And what's happened to me too lately is
not again. Not again.
Package for the master is on a whirlwind U.S. tour.
Dude, what is going on lately?
Thanks to the U.S. Post Office. So anyway, I just want everyone to know I am privy. I know what this is.
I am not privy, as per usual.
And I'm not telling. So there you go.
Oh, you know what we forgot? Did we need to put anything in about the super secret Pestilence Labs project?
No, check out their website though. They do have some more clues.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. Yes, head over there for more clues.
And I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to tell you a little something about that too.
How are you now?
Because I'm Mr. Not Leak Anything.
Except,
but
after going to the bathroom. Probably.
No, I don't leak. I leak before I go to the bathroom. So, when this whole thing started, those two guys kind of ran the whole thing by me and sent me a lot of the clues and had me kind of guess.
Wait, what two guys?
Oh, there's another guy involved. Let's just say.
Oh. Ooh, is that a clue?
No, not really a clue. Anyway,
Two guys involved.
so, oh yeah, well, first of all, you don't think Mark's smart enough to do anything like
Oh,
this?
that's true. Yeah, he couldn't hatch a
All right.
scheme like this
Come
on
on.
his own. Yeah,
All right.
you're right.
So, anyway,
That's also in
I
Seinfeld.
was able to get close with my guessing. So all I can tell you is the answers are kind of there. You just got to look for them.
All right, I want
I
you
was
to
able to
nod
get
me up
close.
because folks, I don't know. No one tells me shit around here. Everyone calls Scott and tells him everything. No one tells me anything ever. Is it an elder thing from?
Oh, because I'm going to tell you if you guess it and ruin it for everybody. But
Is it an elder thing from Mountains of Madness?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, then.
So I'm going to say no.
Dang it.
There you go. There's your hint.
Dang
no.
All right,
All right.
on to Jesse's stuff.
On a GKUS Creative.
1 p.m. Saturday reveal
for
at the
tribute
table.
piece.
Yes.
Big tribute piece. Big reveal.
Okay.
Okay. So first up, we have a project that I was
We showed this a long time ago.
We did show
Like,
this a long time ago.
ago.
And I was fortunate enough to be part of this project when they decided to go 3D. And I printed the originals, and they decided they were too big, so they went and shrunk it down. But thank God, by the way, that Jesse is printing now, because there's no way I would have been able to print the parts in time. I probably would have, but I wouldn't have had anything for myself. But anyway, at last, and it's been it's been a long wait. Okay, I don't want to say how many years, but I know it's been at least 3. By Gabe Perna is the Tin Man. From the Denizens. Sorry, the Tin Man, the Denizens of Zoe series. And this will probably be the only time that all of the Denizen of Zoe series will be on display on Jesse's table, painted. And I think we showed last time, wasn't it? Last time we showed Jim Capone's
yeah
sneak peek on this piece, and it's just
I love this
piece. Yeah, it's a huge piece. It's pricey, but when you see it, you'll know why. It's huge.
Does he have a price set? You know,
he does.
So people can
I was
plan.
supposed to look on the website for some of the prices, and I didn't. So check his website or check his Facebook page.
There you go.
GKUS Creative.
All right.
Okay. All right. So the Tin Man. Let's see. They will also have some digital renders, which I believe we don't have here. But there will be some renders of the completed Queen Mombi Marie Laveau Voodoo Queen on display. Okay. I mean, I just read shit, okay? Right? Give me a break.
Oh, give you a break? After all these years of you not giving me a break, I'm supposed to give you a break on your reading ability?
Laveeaw. How would you say it?
Wait, say it again.
Leveeaw. How would you say it? Laveau.
Yes. I don't know.
So you're laughing at me.
I'm already switching the words around the letters around in my head because I can't.
Because you're already going. Okay. Anyway, so that will be on display. The renders. Okay. So we got that. All right. Next up. And by the way, beautiful paint job on these by Anya.
Anya Shatina.
And these were both sculpted by Roberto von Bear. And I believe this is Star and Moon. inspired by the painting of Alphonse Mucha.
What the? First of all, I
M-U-C-H-A,
want to go back to
Mucha.
Anya's paint job real quick,
Okay.
and we know that because she talked about her pan pastels, and she has mastered those because, man, those faces look so soft and feminine. Like it's so well done, so well.
Next up is Ostara, the goddess of the spring equinox.
Oh, she's holding a little lamb.
Yes. Really, it's a really
Oh,
nice.
there's a little bunny and
So yeah, nice little Disney sculpt, huh?
some Easter eggs.
Hello, Clarice. Anyway, Ostara, goddess of spring equinox. We will have those there. Okay. And next up, we have his new series of marquee monsters. And each one of these will come with a marquee base that includes an exchangeable front plate showcasing the original fonts from each film. As you can see here, we have a creature from the Black Lagoon,
Nice.
a mole people, mole man, this island Earth, the Metalune mutant.
Really like that moment.
Well, he better hope he gets a mutant because he's waiting on some idiot to cast him.
You?
Yeah. Which, by the way, these are really big pieces. Just that mutant just from the marquee up is like 7.25 inches.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a good size. These are good size pieces. Okay. A few smaller ones. It came from outer space, and the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from Abbott and Costello meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which to me, and I'm not knocking any of the other, but this likeness on this thing is just knocked out of the park. Okay, it's and this was played by Boris Karloff. And I got a picture of a couple of the castings here and a couple of the.
Wait, was it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Karloff played Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah. So, yeah, those are all coming from the GKUS Creative. Also, they will have two options on their Millicent kit. So you have, first of all, the deluxe kit. I want to say deluxe kit because I know that he's talking about a bigger one, but this is the bigger one. Let me see what he calls this. Hold on. Maybe I should read my notes. Oh, this is the regular. We're just going to call it the regular kit.
It's not so easy, is it, Scott?
Okay.
Not so easy to organize and plan everything. And
regular kit includes figure base, drafting table, and the kit comes with replicas of the photographs as well as a newly recreated watercolor. I believe it's going to be a decal or a sticker.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Famous creature painting. So that you can stick it on the drafting
Dude, someone
table.
needs to make that into a kit. Like super stylized like that.
Well,
Warthling. Somebody get on that.
Warthling. Great. Give him another $1 million idea. That's what he needs.
No, like running, like super stylized. Oh, that'd be cool. Or Jesse do it. Somebody do that.
And I want to say, way back when, I actually printed some parts for this too. So,
well, hold on. I want to talk about this drawing for a second. I love the creature's eyes blacked out like that.
Huh.
Like that makes it so much more scary. Oh, I wish they would have went with that. All right, go ahead. Sorry, me gushing.
Okay, and then we have the basic kit, which just includes the figure with the wooden base, sculpting the creature head.
Cool.
And so we have that. He'll have those. And then the bust. Now the bust, again, screw Jim Capone. Look at that. I'm sorry. Look at this paint job on this. So anyway, he will have these as well.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah. And this is the bust is what scale?
I want to say it's quarter scale.
Okay.
I want to say all the Millicents are quarter scale.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So, and last but certainly not least is, wait, he told me the name of it. I'm going to butcher this too, and he's going to kill me. I think it's Grand Theft Saucer. Okay.
That's what it is.
All right. And this could be my favorite one.
So this is part of the Halloween Nightmares line, correct?
And this is part of the Halloween Nightmares line, but it's the B movie monster Halloween Nightmares line. Okay.
Gotcha.
That he's kind of started it's separate from the original line. It's going to be based on all B. Like the first one was Whack-A-Mole, was the Mole Man.
Uh-huh.
This is Invasion of the Saucer Man, obviously. So a great fun kit right there. So he should have some of those as well.
Awesome.
Stop by, be in his usual spot, GKUS Creative. Check out all these new goodies. And don't forget the big reveal Saturday at 1 p.m. There you go.
See how good Scott is at this? I love it. I love watching you do
Pretty
this.
good at it.
You are. That's what I said. You're good at it. I have an email from Shane McGowan. Not the dead singer of the Pogues, but resin caster Shane McGowan. I did not get pictures. He said that someone was supposed to send me pictures, but I will read what he sent me. I recently finished molding up a Gojira kit of the Imposter from the disguised Mecha Godzilla from Terror of Mecha Godzilla. The kit is hollow cast on the torso and largest tail section. The remainder is solid pressure cast resin. It will stand well over 13 inches tall. Thought it might fall under your new stuff section. The sculptor is Burley Vang, and he has pics and videos on Facebook. All right, I can't see those pictures because I'm not friends with Burley on Facebook. So if you are friends with Burley, head over there. Hopefully it'll be a little surprise when you see Shane's table. I don't know. Shane's usually in that section that's now walled off, so I don't know where his table is going to be.
I think he's still going to be in the main room. I think I read
Okay.
somewhere. He's
All right.
still
Cool. So check out Shane's stuff. He's got an Terror Mecha Godzilla. That's the first Godzilla movie I ever saw in the movie theater. Real quick, Scott found a picture. So here is the Imposter. We're pretty sure this is the right kit. That looks cool.
and that one was painted by Paul and won a silver at Wonderfest a few years
Oh,
ago.
good job, Paul.
So
So if you're interested in this kit, it will be there. Shane's table, main room we're hearing. So cool. There we go.
all right,
right.
what's next?
Up next, from Nostalgic Resin Productions.
Got hard booty.
Yeah, here we go. From David Horvath, our buddy, and he was in our town, stranded this recently.
Branded.
We hope to have prototypes of, or at least close to final renders of the following new kits at Wonderfest: the Librarian, which is Batgirl, which is what you're looking at here. 5 o'clock in Korea, which is Hawkeye. Let's get to that. We'll get to it in a second. The Host, Rod Serling. Lost Love, Zeta Johan from The Mummy. The Wed. Did I say that right? Is it Johan?
Yeah.
Okay. The Wed. Oh, it is supposed to be that. The Wed Woes, Lily Von Stoop from Blazing Saddles, The Rebel, Pee Wee Herman, and a few other new surprises. Will we have limited numbers of Captain, INS Reporter, the Big K Bust, and a few Buffalo Gal kits available, as well as a crap ton of model name plaques and a large variety of movie poster 3D tiles. So I'm just going to kind of go through these. We'll be taking names and contact info for all the new offerings, and will be spaced out for release over the remainder of this year. If we run out of any of our current kits for sale at the show, we'll be offering those with free shipping later at the show price to all who sign up for them at the show. Only. We can't wait to see everyone there. Big Daddy Dave Horvath. So let's check out some of these. There we have.
So,
which one do you want to talk about first?
Dave, Dave did get a second printer. And the first question that his wife asked him was, is it as big as Scott? I'm just going to leave it right there. Okay.
I really
and
like.
she realized what she asked. Okay.
I really like this Lost Love, the Zeta Johann from The Mummy. It's like, it's just classic pose. It's really cool. And then the Hawkeye is pretty nice. These are all, I love what he's doing. I love that he's going back. I love the direction his company has taken. And he's hitting on these characters that have never been done. Pee Wee Herman, absolutely a must-have in my. It's has to be. This Rod Sterling looks really nice. Rod Serling, I said Sterling. This Rod Serling looks really nice. That's a pretty good likeness, right?
Yeah, and again, with a lot of these kits, it's hard to tell till you see them printed and or painted.
Yeah, and Buffalo. Here's Buffalo Gal, and here's the nameplates.
Okay, so I got to say something about the Serling. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to tell Dave. Okay. Maybe it's me. The head looks a little big.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it me?
Yeah, maybe.
Shrink the head a little bit, Dave.
I don't know. Don't.
Not as big as Scott.
Look, check it out. Don't
Okay.
first knee jerk it, but maybe.
But still, it's a yeah.
It's great likeness.
It's going to be good, whatever. And again, these are preliminary photos. Anyway,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're in progress.
who am I to bust Dave's ass?
So here's the Buffalo Gal. And the nameplates that he's going to have. So some cool
Christmas
stuff.
movie. It's a Wonderful Life. Huh?
All right, up next from who, Scott?
From Gilbert Models.
Wow.
And it's sculpted by Jeff Jaeger. Bomb. And it's quarter scale bust. Limited edition to 100. Price is 120 plus shipping and handling. And it's Carl Weathers as Dylan from the 1987 Predator line from Gilbert. This is their third release. And I was looking at the list. Yeah, they're about a third of the way there, selling out. It's available for pre-order, and all the casting will be done by Paul Gill. And I imagine the molding as well. It was such a long time ago when I saw Predator. So the previous two in this line were kind of, I just didn't remember the movie that well. But that being said,
Hold on. Wait, what?
I just didn't remember the movie.
The previous two were Arnold and Billy?
Oh, no, I remember the Dutch. Yeah, the Dutch was really good. Okay, that was the one that the guy painted in the mud, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then Billy.
How do you not remember Billy?
Dude, I saw the movie once.
Cuts his chest?
I at least saw the movie. Okay.
Okay, I'll give you that. All right.
But
people are punching their TVs right now. I can tell.
Elbert's gonna kill me. But anyway, this Carl Weathers likeness.
That is spot on.
I mean, yes.
It looks like a photograph. And he just passed away this year too. Like, man.
Yeah, unreal. Just,
all right,
again,
awesome.
Unreal. So, Gilbert Models Facebook page, and
get that information.
You can get on the list there and prepay. So,
all right,
there you go.
And just for the record, I'm kind of getting away from the buttons because of the new setup. It's hard to click back and forth. So if people who miss the buttons of their company, kind of doing away with those. Might bring
We'll
them
try
back.
to put links in, right?
Yeah, all the links will be down below. We'll get them there. All right, our winter update, Scott.
Winter update, man. Got
Been on a
busy
tear.
after the last episode, didn't he?
He's been on a tear.
Between his Patreon and
On CG Trader.
His other stuff, CG Trader. So first up is, and I forgot the character's name from the Harlem Globetrotters. Okay. And I used to watch the Globetrotters. So these are fun pieces. I don't know that I'll get them, but they're fun pieces.
I remember them more being on Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, because they were part of that when
Yeah,
Scooby-Doo went to movies and you'd have guest stars. You
Yeah.
know, Sandy Duncan and the Globetrotters. Yeah. So it was funny, and I was telling Jason before this went on, the show was always the same. The Globetrotters would go in and get their asses handed to them for like the beginning of the game, and then of course they'd come back and do all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. Kind of like the real Globetrotters.
Yeah. That's the whole shtick. But really cool.
There was a Curly and a Meadowlark, so I'm looking forward to seeing those. Those will be fun.
Yeah, he's gonna have all of them. I have a feeling because like on the Patreon, I think this was from that group of suggested ideas. So I think they'll all be coming, the whole team. And then Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck, man, Scrooge is stingy. Like it though. I do like it.
And then
Droopy. Droopy, I really like. Droopy, I'll be getting, sure.
Yes.
I do like Droopy.
I love the pose. I love the pose. It's perfect. And
in a Jetsons edition, Mr. Cogswell.
Who was he on the Jetsons?
He was, so it was Spacely Sprockets and Cogswell Cogs. And they were the competing companies.
Because who was his boss? Mr. Spacely, right?
was his boss.
And then this was the competing guy?
Yes, this was Cogswell.
Yeah.
So fun piece though.
Yeah. And then Ranger
Smith. Go with the Yogi Bear. But yeah, Ranger did a lot of chasing Yogi Bear.
And finally,
Chief Winchley.
I remember this well.
From Squiddly Diddly.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, what actor does he look like there? Dabney Coleman. I think he looks like Dabney Coleman.
Yeah, a little bit.
So these are all either going to be available from Well or available from Well. And I haven't talked to the kid in a while. I'm going to have to give him a call, or not a call, but because I don't speak Portuguese. But I wish we had a viewer that did, that we could get him on and translate.
Do a translate? Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. So we got some pictures out of Japan this week on Facebook from Yoshio Masataka and from X Plus themselves. There was another model show, and they debuted the Wolfman plastic kit, the prototype. So we saw the silhouette before. We did not see the figure. And Scott, I need your initial reaction here.
My initial reaction is this is really a good Wolfman. I zoomed in on it a little bit on some of the photos. And I can also tell you that it's not done yet, because being sculpted by Tony Cipriano, they do still have some changes they want to make. But I don't know why, because
they please don't screw this up, because this is so good. I'm hard pressed to think of a better Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at that, can you think of one? Like
I love Yeager's first Tiptoed Wolfman, and there's another one he did for Six String Productions that's really good, where he's kind of coming up. Similar pose.
Yeah.
Maybe and with a
I really
bigger-
like the one, the Exo Facto, where he's chasing the bat. The likeness is
I
really,
like that
really
one
good
too.
there.
I do like that one too.
But I think this, for a classic, just Wolfman lurking
Yep.
around, is just perfect. And I think we mentioned in the interview coming up some of this. This is what X Plus is doing, what you dreamed Aurora did. Like when you looked at that box, this is what you thought was going to be in the box, you know? And these are just, they're doing it right. And I think Tony even said it. These are plastic kits that are just a dream come true. They're not super expensive. They're fun. They're great. The details. And I really hope they don't mess this Wolfman up, because Tony, you nailed it. This is so good. So good.
Yeah. I mean, you can't stir resin as bad, but
But he can sculpt a Wolfman. Yeah.
Go.
You know?
Yeah.
Man. So I just want to go through some of the other stuff they posted up. So we have the Wolfman. Here's some, I think, closer pics of the Frankenstein's monster and the lab equipment.
and I have to tell you, early on, I was not a fan of this piece. But looking at the painted piece, it actually looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the lab equipment. It's cheap lab equipment. Like, if you need something, nice, easy way to do it.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble with the they put the ladder in the background from Son of Frankenstein. Okay.
Oh.
No, so but that's just me being a dick.
Yeah. And then the mummy's tomb. I love this mummy as much as I love the Wolfman, I think. And this paint job, I want to know, does it say there on there? No, it doesn't say who painted it. But I love the OSL lighting effect they did on here with the tipped over, not torch, but whatever that thing was that was burning on the ground. I forget what they call them. And you can see it in this pic here, how it's lighting up the edge of the nameplate. It's just, what a great paint job and what a great kit. Like, again,
I bet it's Yoshio, but that's my
probably.
guess.
We'll have to, I would love to get Yoshio on one day. Do a translator. He speaks a little English, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll reach out to him. And then we have the Dracula. I don't think we saw these pics before, because I don't remember seeing the back of him like this. I'm not sure if we've seen these yet. But tell me if I'm not wrong, Scott. Does that look a little Cipriano to you?
Well, he does look a little Italian.
I think he put a little bit of himself in there.
But well, you know how those artists are.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill me for that. He's just gonna go absolutely ape shit over that one. You know, and then he'll call me and tell me about it. But then he'll tell me he doesn't watch. But then he'll call me and go absolutely ape shit about it. Okay.
Still, one of these days I got to put the video that he sent us in here. He's like, "That's a dig." That was the best.
That's a dig, motherfucker.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's the best video we've ever gotten.
That was the best video we ever got. Again, a beautiful Dracula.
And can we give, for people who might, I don't know, are we allowed to say anything
about?
I'll say it. I'll try and be diplomatic about this. Companies like to make changes to things. And I think this is one of those pieces that has gone through a lot of art direction from the company. And I think Tony posted the original sculpture. Did he?
He might have at one point. And
I think he
also
did.
too, in the case of these particular kits, they're not only going through. So it not only has to go through X Plus, it's got to go through Universal, and it's got to go through the Lugosi estate.
Yes.
Okay, so you're dealing with,
which is why you see the X Plus logo and you see the Lugosi logo
right
on the picture. So it's approved by them.
What's kind of pissing me off a little bit about X Plus is they're not giving their sculptors credit when they show this stuff. And I feel they should.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. But I think they wanted it to look a little older than he did in the movie. And that was part of the sticking point.
Yes.
And that makes no sense to me, but okay. I mean, it's
initially too, I think there was going to be you could you could do the version with the medallion, or the version that just has the string without the medallion.
Okay.
I think they got away from that.
Okay. Well, we'll see when it comes out. I'll be getting it. I have it on pre-order. X Plus, if you want to send us some model kits to preview on here, I would love it. I know actually when you go to the X Plus thing, I'm on there. But please, X Plus, we'd love to, sponsor the show, X Plus. That'd be awesome if you could. And then we have, let me get to it real quick. Up next, The Bride of Frankenstein. Scott, what do you think of this?
I love it. I'm still not sure, is this 2 separate kits or one kit you can build 2 ways?
That's what I'm wondering too. Because I love both versions here.
Yeah, I'd have to buy 2.
Yeah. Oof. And then here's 2 pictures of it, 2 side by sides. Get that. I'm really excited for this. I know you're probably not. But the Legion from Gamera versus Legion, you have the Legion figure and you have Gamera there. The original Legion figure was from Kyoto and it was huge and really expensive, or it was either M1. It was one of those two, and it was huge and expensive. And I never got a Legion figure because it was so much bigger than Gamera. So like a Gamera kit, Legion would have been ridiculous in resin. So for them to be doing it at smaller scale in plastic is really cool to see. And you get the Gamera that goes with it as well. They already did the Gamera 3. And this is just, again, so cool what they're doing. Our interview is with Derek Conlon. And Scott, we had to do this interview in the middle of the week when a lot of stuff was going on for Scott. So it's just me on this one. And we just do a deep dive on the Body Snatcher by Pestilence Labs. I saw Derek's build up on Facebook and thought it was amazing. Particularly the shovel, I thought was beautiful. And I wanted to know how he did it. So he walked us through it and talk about some of his other buildups. And if everybody likes this, I want to do more of this going forward and just do a little how-to, like how'd you do it kind of thing. So without further ado, here's Derek Conlon. Great painter, great little interview. All right, everybody, we are back with Derek Conlon. Thank you, Derek, for joining us.
Pleasure.
How are you? Good day, bad day, all good?
All good. All good.
Right.
Since the beginning of February, I've been more or less retired, so things are better. Well,
living the dream.
yeah, living the dream.
After today, I wish I was retired as well. It's end of the year at school is no fun, and today
I had plenty of days like that. Yeah.
Oh man. So I thought I came across your work on Facebook. You've posted in the boards, on all that stuff. And you had your Body Snatcher kit. And I thought it would be really, it's right there. I thought it'd be really cool to do like a deep dive. And you're our first guinea pig for this. So if this goes well, I want to do this with more people. So just stuff that Scott and I come across and just kind of do a walkthrough on how you did your paint job, your building, tips on the kit, like that sort of thing. But before we get into that sort of deep dive, how did you get into this mess of a hobby? And where are you in the world? Like, where are you in the world so people know and all that sort of thing?
So I'm in Montreal. And for those of you who aren't aware of where Montreal is, you know where New York is. Just go north 5 hours and you'll hit Montreal. So that's where I am. How did I get into all of this? I was born in 1962. And when I was 5 years old, I vividly remember bugging my parents incessantly because I had seen Aurora's Blackbeard in the display window at the local convenience store. And this was something that just grabbed my attention, captivated me. I had to have it.
The Blackbeard kit.
The Blackbeard
out of
kit.
all the people we've interviewed, they have never said that one. It's always a monster. It's interesting. Why pirates then?
I don't know what it was. It was the dynamic paint job probably on that long box that showed Blackbeard swinging his cutlass. Yeah. That's probably what did it. So I bugged my parents, for what seemed like 2 weeks, maybe more, to cough up the enormous sum of 98 cents at the time to buy this thing. Back when, an allowance was 25 cents. That was a month's allowance.
Oh my gosh.
So finally got it, put it together with help from my father, and I was hooked. I moved on from there to, as you get older and you stay in the hobby, your interests change. So I moved on to the monsters. Always wanted to get the Captain Kidd kit, but could never get it. Moved on to the monsters, moved on to planes, boats, cars, and then got away from the hobby. And then when I started to get back into the hobby later in life, a friend's father was very interested in wooden ship building. So I got into that through him. And then I did that for many years, building not quite from scratch, but plank on bulkhead, plank on frame, wooden ship models.
Oh, wow.
Very intricate, detailed work, which is something that I really gravitate toward. I like the details in things. I like to do research. I like to do the details. And then I wandered into a local hobby shop maybe 20 years ago. And that's where I, browsing the shelves, discovered Randy Bowen's Polar Lights Wolfman, the styrene kit. And I thought, wow, I remember the Aurora version. It was so disappointing when I opened the box. It looked nothing like it did on the long box art. So I bought it on a whim. I thought, oh, I'll see what it's like. It's not that expensive. Opened up the box. I was very impressed with the quality that had evolved over all those decades. And in the box was an ad for AFM.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, I wonder what this is all about. Never heard of this magazine. I've never seen it on the newsstand.
Yeah.
So I subscribed, again, on a whim. Let's see what it's all about. I think I got issue 26 or 27 was the first issue. And when I opened up that magazine, and I think John Tuckey from Exo Facto used to have the ad just on the inside cover.
Yes. Yep.
So I remember opening it up, and I was blown away by what I saw. And as I kept turning the pages, I thought, what have I been missing all these years? I should get back into to figure kits, because this was what really got me into the hobby in the first place. And from there on, it was resin all the way. I think I may have purchased my first kit off of eBay. I think it was Janice's Man of 1,000 Faces. It was a broken down wreck of a kit. It really needed some serious restoration work. And I spent 9 months stripping it, storing it, resculpting it, looking into it, finding out all the pieces that should have been there but maybe weren't.
Is this the one you sent me pictures of? Because I'll throw it up real quick. Okay, cool. I'll throw up pictures of that.
Yeah, so I worked on that for a good 9 months. I went to the point where, again, I said I was detailed oriented. I took a look at the photos from the photo shoot that are the basis for that kit.
Yeah.
And I took a look at the clothing that he was wearing. Oh, I think that's pinstripe pants. I'll put pinstripes on this. So I pinstriped the pants. There's one shot where you can see the time on his watch. I put the time on the watch that he's wearing on his wrist. And so that it gives you an insight into just how obsessed I become with the way I do this.
And that makes sense because of when I looked at your kit of the body snatch, it's the body snatcher, right? Why am I brain?
Yeah.
Okay. Of the body snatcher, the shovel is what it brought me to it. And the detail on the shovel is like, no one's done it like that. And I want to talk to him about that. So this fits into what we're saying. This Man of 1,000 Faces was your first resin garage kit? That
was my first resin garage kit.
What a way to jump in. That's jumping in the deep end right away. That's awesome.
Both feet with an anchor tied around my ankles. Yeah.
So I want real quick. When you talk about pinstripes on pants, how do you normally tackle that? How would you normally do that?
So I did it wrong the first time I did it. I've since learned how to do it much, much better. So
okay, everybody take notes because this will help.
So what I did the first time was I thought, okay, well, I have to lay out where the pinstripes are going to be. So, I mean, you should see the work in progress thread that I had put up on the Clubhouse years ago. All this very narrow masking tape that I had purchased. It must be about 1 millimeter or less than 1 millimeter wide, maybe 0.5 millimeter. And I pinstriped the kit in all this masking tape. And then I lay in the blue, the darker color. And I took off the masking tape. And I hadn't quite gotten everything I needed to do. I needed to touch up stuff. I've since learned to do it sort of the other way around. Paint the blue first, mask the blue off, and then spray in the pinstripes and pull that stuff off. It works so much better the second time I did it on the Exo Facto Humphrey Bogart kit, Maltese Falcon.
So I think I did it wrong too the first time. Because I remember I did the Frankenstein, the horror Frankenstein, hammer horror Frankenstein,
Sure.
where he's got the pinstripe and he's carrying the bucket with the head thing in it, the metal drum, and his whole thing is pinstriped. And I masked it off and I did the black, and I used like watercolor paint, I think, so that I could go back and keep erasing my mistakes. And I wish I would have done it that way, thinking about it.
Somebody else had asked me, well, why didn't you just draw them in with a colored pencil? I said, well, I looked into doing it with colored pencil. You just don't get the darkness that you wanted.
And even you'll never get a perfect, like with a pencil, you'll never get it perfectly straight. And I was obsessed with, you took a look at somebody wearing a pinstripe suit. Those pinstripes are straight, except for, where the folds are. And getting which is always a nightmare. Is trying to figure out the way. Yes. The folds.
In fact, on the Janus kit, this will tell you my level of obsession. If you take a look at a pair of pinstripe pants that go with a suit, generally the pinstripes will come to a point at the back in the seat. They'll go up the back of the legs and then they'll meet like this. Well, if you take a look at the back of my Janus kit, that's what happens with those pinstripes. They meet in a V at the back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Thanks for answering that. That's great. So after this, how'd you keep going? Like, what's your favorite subject matter? What are you really into when you come to painting stuff? And
I gravitate most to Universal horror. Wolfman is probably my favorite character, followed by the Mummy. I don't know what it is about the Wolfman. I think it's really the texture and the fur, the colors that you can put into the fur in order to build up depth and highlights. Even the little bit of skin that's visible on the Wolfman, just in the face, around the eyes and nose. Play with that to try to make it look as realistic as possible, trying to achieve some sort of depth by getting veining under the skin. And these were things that I learned by going to Resintopia back when that existed. I went to, I think, the second Resintopia that was put on. Jeff Yeager had gone to that show and gave a lecture. And the class that I took, painting Blackheart's Wolfman wall hanger, was put on by, if I'm not mistaken, Gordon Oberman and Jeff Kemp. One of them did the color, one of them did the black and white. I did the color version. So I've been going to Resintopia. I've gone to one Resintopia, and then I went to Jersey Fest for about 6 or 7 years running, always taking a class, always trying to improve.
I threw up your picture of the Wolfman you did send me, and which kit is this, so people know?
It may be the bust, so that may be the one.
No, the full figure with the tree. Full figure with the
full figure with the tree, right? So that is the old 6-string. I think that's it's now called On the Prowl.
Yeah.
I think it was put out by Resin Crypt after 6-string gave up the rights to Resin Crypt. At the time, I think it was called the 41 Wolf.
Okay.
There's a 41 version and a 43 version.
See, this is where Scott comes in handy. He knows all this stuff, and like a nut. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that one I did as a commission for a guy who lives in Toronto. He was happy with the result.
Cool. Side note: did you see X Plus's Wolfman? Did you see the pictures?
I did. I just saw a photo of it the other day. Yeah.
Holy cow!
I really like what they've been putting out, and the promo shots that they've put out of the Dracula. Frankenstein, the Bride.
Yeah. It's almost, and I've heard other people say it, but I think it's absolutely true. It's what the Aurora models should have been. Like when you open the box, you imagine what they would look like, and they actually do look like what they should look like on the cover art. So awesome.
Much less disappointment when you open the box.
Yes, for sure. Oh man. All right. Let's take a dive into this for a minute. Let's start out.
Yeah.
So the pictures I'm gonna throw up here, I'm gonna start with the end product and the very beginning in the same slide. So
okay.
So the kit comes with what exactly? So when someone buys this kit from Pestilence Labs, how good are the castings? Like, just kind of talk about that maybe a little bit, and how much prep work goes into it.
The casting was superb. It really was. It was an excellent casting. As you are aware, Mike Calvert at Typhon had originally conceived this kit, and the kit then went to Mark Warthling at Pestilence in order to see it finally produced. So when you get the kit, I can take it apart. The head and the top hat are one piece. The torso is one piece. The arm and hand is one piece. And the shovel, minus the handle, is two pieces. You have to connect the blade to the shaft. The base is one piece, and you have the two parts of the fence that are 3D printed that you can put on. So pretty much what you see is what you get. I added a few things, some leaves and some other effects, but pretty much it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts, and really, really clean castings, minimal cleanup. I've seen terrible kits as I've gone through the hobby over the last couple of decades, but this was just a joy to work on.
It looks like it, and it looks like you had fun doing it. So let's start walking through. Are you an airbrush guy, a brush guy? Like what are your normal go-to stuff?
I usually start with an airbrush to get most of the coverage done, and then I'll switch over to a brush in order to get the finer details done. I'm really not that good getting fine details with an airbrush.
Yeah.
So I'll do most of the broad stuff with an airbrush, and then all the details are done by hand. I don't use pastels as much as I did, only because I find that the way I was applying them, they sometimes give a dull look, and I wanted a little bit more life. So this was the first time I tried something brand new in applying the paint and trying to make it look as real as possible.
I have gotten away from pastels as well. I used to use them a lot, and I don't as much anymore. And I think that's kind of what you said. Like, it does seem to dull it. And I think there was a point in time in the hobby where that was the look a lot of people were kind of going for, that really like kind of dead flat pastel look almost to it. And,
sure.
And it's something I don't, on certain things it works really well. And on other times it just, you can tell it's like, oh, that's pastels. You know what I mean? Like just.
I probably did use pastel on this, but very sparingly.
Right.
Like in the shadows of the eyes, just in the recesses of the eyes, just to give shadow.
Yeah.
So when I was looking for a real effect, something that would pop, I got away from the pastel and I got into very fine detail with the brush.
Cool. All right. First step. Is that brown primer? Red rust color? Yeah. Okay. So talk about that. Why did you choose that color for your primer?
I started using rust primer for all skin based on advice from Jim Capone. Jim Capone had taught a class at Jersey Fest that I had taken. I think the subject that we were painting that day was Saul Alvarez's London After Midnight bust. And Jim had said that he uses rust for flesh colors because when you're applying skin colors on top of that, lighter or darker skin colors, the rust primer helps you out by providing shadow immediately. So if you prime your kit, especially somebody with a light skin complexion, if you prime your kit with rust and then you apply lighter skin colors or skin tones to the kit, provided you're shooting down at an angle, you are leaving the darker rust tones in all the crevices and all the recesses, and it becomes natural shadow.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Jim on and he said the same thing to us. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. Because I have noticed, and other people have said, like, if you use gray, you kind of get that almost sickly look. And if that's what you're going for, yeah, start with that gray. Like if you want to do a vampire.
It's funny you mentioned that. If I'm doing a female character, I'll use white.
Yeah.
Because I want the skin to be much brighter and paler. I don't want that rugged look to the skin, so I'll use white if it's a female character.
Right. That's good advice. I do the same thing. When you started working on the face, kind of walk us through that a little bit. For like step 1, step 2, like just kind of walk us through, because I noticed some spots, some aging spots. Like it is not a dead one tone to any of that.
Okay, so when I started on the face, I had the rust primer on at first. Then I used my pale flesh from the old GKUS line, Jesse's paint line, and spraying down at about a 45-degree angle. I just hit all the high points on the face and then, rotated the kit so that I would get the ears, but not all the way into the ears. I wanted that rust to be inside the ears so that I didn't have to darken it myself. Went all the way around the kit, as they say, at about 45-degree angle, hitting mainly the highlights, but generally the face, leaving a little bit of rust in the recesses. And then following that, again, based on things that I've picked up over the years, Sideshow, by the way, the artists at Sideshow put out some great informative how-to videos, and I watched quite a few of those a few years ago. And that's when I started applying 3 washes to these kits. So I'll use a blue, a yellow, and a red, which is what Sideshow was recommending. But I find that if you alter the sequence that you're using, you get a different result. So I think I did blue, yellow, red on this, if memory serves. I did it about 2 months ago. But then I went back and I did blue again. But the second application of blue was only used around the beard line. So the mustache, the chin, up to the sideburns, on the cheeks. And that really, as you may have noticed, if you've watched any of those Sideshow videos, you'll hear the artist say that it deadens the look of the flesh. And anybody who has a heavy beard who shaves to get rid of the beard, unlike yourself, will notice that there's a slight discoloration or a slight change in value of the skin from the beard line up. You'll have rosier cheeks and paler skin down here where you're shaving, generally.
Yeah.
And so that's what the blue achieves in the second application. It really deadens the skin down around here. And then, of course, to offset that, you go back in with some brighter flesh tones. So on my wet palette, I'll use pale flesh, I'll use magenta, I'll use a flesh wash, a lot of colors in that same sort of palette. And then I'll mix and match them in the wet palette until I get a color that suits me.
So you mentioned a color that I know I need to use more, and I've seen a lot more people using it as as kind of a shade to break things up, a shadow color, which is magenta. And could you kind of walk people through why you would want to use magenta? Because I've read, like, what does that do for people? Because it's a color, when you see it, you're like, that's not going on my skin. Like, why would I want to put that in my monstery character? Because it's the complete opposite of what you would normally think. So why would you try to use magenta for something like that?
You would be surprised when you take a really close look at people's skin of all the colors that are actually there. There are blues, there are greens, there are grays, there are purples, yellows, there are magentas. So the magenta really brightens up the flesh. And I will use it in conjunction with another flesh, a pale flesh or a transparent pale flesh with a flesh wash. And the magenta really comes into play on those parts of the features that would normally have more of a blood flow. So around the cheeks, around the nose, around the bottoms and tops of the ears. So any of those places where you would expect more blood to be seen. If somebody is blushing, their cheeks will blush, their ears will go red, that sort of thing. So that's where I'll use it. I won't use it overall. It really gets specific use in specific places, between the eyes, on the forehead, just above the eyebrows.
I hope no one takes this the wrong way. It's something I notice when I do see the contest at Wonderfest. You see a lot of people that basically they've been doing flesh tones the same way since David Fisher's videos from like way back in the 90s of, your highlights, you mix up your Liquitex colors of your burnt umber, raw sienna, or burnt sienna, raw sienna, titanium white, and you kind of go into the deeper areas with the shadow colors and then do your highlights. And then people are, oh, I'm done. It looks like skin, but it doesn't. And like you just said, you have to really look at skin. Ears go red. The tip of your nose will go red. Your cheeks will have and I think one of the greatest things to happen to the hobby was those videos you mentioned with the blue, yellow, and red washes from Sideshow and letting that secret out there. And it even with me, who I tend to use a lot of washes in my work, but it wasn't something I ever thought of like that. And I was like, let me just try that to see if it works. And when it did, I was like, holy crap, that's pretty good. It totally, it cut
Where has
down.
this information been all my life?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it cut down on I would have done 6 other steps to try and do that. And it just kind of clicked into a second. So I'll find the link to it. And I think we've talked about it before on here, but anyone who has not seen those Sideshow videos of I think it's Superman they're painting in one of those.
Superman is one. And if you take a look at the Christian Bale Batman video as well from Sideshow, that's very important. especially when it comes to the 5 o'clock shadow and trying to break up the skin. The one thing that they've recommended that I haven't tried yet is putting alcohol into an atomizer and spraying the alcohol over the kit to have the paint break up a little bit more and run
Try
in
that.
patterns.
It's really
I
cool.
haven't tried it yet.
Try it.
Okay.
I really, it's depending on, and experiment. Like I like to grab a lot of things and just kind of try on little tiny swatches and stuff to see what it looks like. And that alcohol spritzing.
I will do the same thing, but I won't do it on swatches. I'll actually do it on the kit, because with every kit that I do, I always try something new.
This is why nothing gets done around here, because I just screw around with little stuff and go, oh, that looks pretty cool. But, oh, man. All right. So when you get to, and this kind of like, I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit. When you get to eyes, do you have a secret? Do you have any tips for people for eyes? Because we have a lot of people that are like, will you please do a video about eyes? And I don't think I'm very good at eyes. But when it comes in, we've had some people on that give their tips, and I want to see if yours kind of line up with them. Like, what's your color go-to for your sclera, the white of your eyes? What do you kind of do for that? And I noticed on some, and I'll bring them up as we're talking about it. You do a really good job of creating depth to that white with the way you blend to like a red kind of pinkish kind of. So if you could kind of walk people through that while you're talking, I'll throw some pictures up, but I'd love to hear about that part.
Sure. So for the sclera, I know a lot of people will use a gray or an oyster color, as they call it. There are two paints that I have up on my shelf here behind me. These are Minotaur paints that I bought years ago at Jersey Fest. Mummy is one color, and there's another color that I almost always use for sclera and for teeth. Ancient Bone is the color. They're creamy off-white colors, and they're very, very close. So don't be obsessed by the name Mummy and Ancient Bone. You're really just looking for a creamy color that's got a little bit of yellow and a touch of brown in it, and that's really what I use almost invariably for eyes and for teeth. And what I'll do first is I'll put that color, that off-white, creamy, yellowy color, in the eye area. Especially for kits that don't have the eyes sculpted in, that don't have the irises sculpted in. I'll put that in, and then I'll start doing the eyes. I always look at the reference photos that I have researched online. Every kit that I do, I research. I take a look at the movie that it's from. I find as many stills as I can. I find as many close-ups as I can. And especially with a kit like this, the Karloff kit, this is taken from a publicity still, so the eye position is shown in the publicity still, and Jeff sculpted it in. Jeff Yeager sculpted it in, so you don't really have to worry about the eye position too much.
What do you prefer? Do you like a sculpted eye, or do you like to try and do it yourself?
So here's the one that I'm working on right now. This is the Lawn of a Thousand Faces that Saul Alvarez puts out. This one was sculpted by Daniel Angelosi, if I'm not mistaken. This did not have the irises sculpted in, and it gave me an opportunity to take a look at the reference photos and put the eyes in as close to the reference photo as I could. And it was really a look that I liked, where he's sort of looking down at the camera, and his eyes are positioned up in the sclera. So part of the iris is lost to the upper lid, and there's quite a bit of white showing underneath the eyeball. You know, if an artist had decided to sculpt in the iris and they didn't like that look, you would have to fill it in, and you would have to, you'd have to putty it in, and you'd have to go back to square one and do it yourself anyway. So I kind of like when they're not put in, and then I can decide on the positioning of the eyes for dramatic effect.
Cool.
So what I'll do when I'm doing the iris is I'll put in the darker color first, because again, going back to a class that I had taken at Resentopia, Fred DeSantis, I believe, was the person who taught the class.
Fred. Yeah.
DeSanto?
Yep.
Fred DeSanto taught the class, and
he lives just south of me, not too far.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So he went into like a 2 or 3 hour long class just on how to do eyes. So I always do the dark of the eye first, and I'll just do the entire eye so I know the positioning of the eye. But then my second lighter color will go almost up to the edge, but just leave a hairline of that darker color on the outer rim of the eye. And then I'll use an even lighter color, and I'll try to, as small a brush as I can find. Right now, I can't find it. With as small a brush as I can find, I'll put in the striations in the eye as much as I can. Sometimes I'll resort to just putting in dots because I can't get a stroke that doesn't end up, becoming too wide or putting down too much paint. So I'll just put a tiny dot to indicate where the striation should be, knowing that when I put in the pupil next, the pupil is going to cover up most of my mistakes that I've made as I've been putting in the striations. And the end result isn't so bad. Then I do the paint for the corner of the eye and the underside of the eyelid, and then I'll gloss it. And almost always using Tamiya clear.
That's what I was just going to ask. What your gloss was? I have your London After Midnight picture up.
Oh, you do?
It's a good picture on the eyes. And while we're there with that up, there's something else I want to ask you too, and we'll get back to that one. Yes. Sorry, we're jumping around a little bit. Tamiya Clear is a fantastic gloss. So if anyone hasn't used that, it is great. But before we go back to the other one, there's something very cool. Like when you look at this kit, your fingernails are what fingernails look like. And yes. A lot of times I'll see people just, they paint the fingernails, like just gloss what's there or they'll paint them white or like the whole thing. But on yours, I wish people would look at their fingernails because and it's so easy because you're painting while you're doing it. And why, like
your hand's right there.
Your hand's right there. Look at what it actually looks like. And you absolutely nailed it. And it's the ring finger, you can see it best on in this picture. You have that white part there, and you have the exact, I think, finish. Is that the right word? It's not too shiny. It's not too flat. It separates well. The cuticles look great. So if you could just walk us through a fingernail for a second, I think people would be interested in that because I think it's really well done. And when I saw that picture, I was like, oh man. And even the veining on your hands and the modeling on that guy's hand in that picture, I think is beautiful. It's gorgeous. So talk away.
Actually, when I did the London After Midnight, you're talking about the wall hanger that
yes.
George puts out from Blackheart, right?
Yep.
So when I did that, I ended up taking photos of my own face from different angles, my own eyes from different angles, and my hand, so that I had reference. And so the flesh that you're seeing on that kit is really based on my own skin.
Oh, dude, you're in trouble.
Based on.
Yeah.
So most of what I described earlier with the way I do portraits was applied to the hand. So again, it begins with rust. It then goes to a pale color. It gets the 3 washes. It also gets a spattering. I forgot to mention earlier that I also spatter to break up the skin. 2 colors. One is a gold toner that I still have in reserve from the old GKUS line of
paints. Man. Okay. So
and one is a flesh wash.
There's some people really, really worried about that gold toner going away. Have you decided on a replacement yet? Have you found something?
I haven't found a replacement because I still have, where is it? I have a sizable bottle still left. And I only use like 2 or 3 drops at a time because on my airbrush right here, this is an Iwata HPC, I believe. In any event, it's got an airflow regulator.
Yeah, that's what I use one of those.
You can also get, if you don't have one of these, you can get an airflow regulator, a third-party airflow regulator that you can put between the hose and the airbrush, and it'll do the same thing. It'll just cut off the air supply. You can also turn down the PSI on your compressor down to about 3. And occasionally, if I hit that sweet spot, I can just pull back the trigger and I will get spatter. Most of the time, however, I just have to keep rocking the trigger back and forth to shoot out little bits of spatter. So after I've done my 3 washes, I'll break up the skin with that spatter, and I'll use a transparent flesh on top of that to knock it down and bring it under the skin, because really those age spots that we all are developing, they are under the surface of the skin and not on top of the skin. So the same thing applies to that hand with the veining. I take a watered down, I haven't used watercolor to do it, but I'll take a watered down blue, severely watered down, like the thinnest wash possible. And I'll apply that to the veins, again, following the pattern on my hand or the pattern that has been sculpted into the kit. And when you apply the transparent flesh on top of that, it really knocks it down and makes it seem that much more natural. I'll redden the tips of the fingers with that mixture that I was talking about earlier, where I'll use magenta as well as a flesh wash, as well as a pale flesh, until I get that sweet spot of a color that I'm looking for. And I'll pull that down into the nails, because between the white part, that half moon part of your nail, and the tip of your nail, it's pinkish.
Yep.
So I'll bring that pink color down. Then, using the pale flesh with a little bit of white added until I get that right color, I'll paint in the half moons on the nails. Sometimes I'll put that same color at the very tip of the nail if I want just to see a little bit of nail that's that's exposed. Sometimes I'll even use a brown or a gray if I want the nails to be dirty. And I'll put a flesh wash all the way around the nail, between the nail and the skin of the finger, so that you've got it redder there as well. And to finish it off, I won't use gloss because that's too glossy. Sometimes I'll use satin, but I'll use a satin top coat, very, very sparing, almost a dry brush of the satin.
I like.
So that's pretty much how I do the.
I like that idea. I like the dry brush of a satin. I think that's a really cool idea. What brand satin? What is it that you use? What brand for the satin?
So again, I mean, Jesse's probably pulling his hair out if he's watching this, but I still have some of the satin top coat from the old GKUS line. I also have some satin top coat from Minotaur.
Okay.
Once those are gone, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's man. Okay. Oh, he is going to kill us. So, and I put the pictures while we were talking of, and people saw it, of the face too, because you can see you're modeling a little bit with the spritzing from your airbrush on there. I hope it on my computer screen. It looks great. I hope people can see it on their TV, because it's there. It's definitely there. And if you're on Facebook, so people can they follow you over there to see stuff?
Oh yeah,
the best place. Okay, so if you want to see some of this stuff.
I don't post a lot of stuff on my own Facebook page. What I do though is I'll post stuff on Paul Gill's figure model kit page. I'll put stuff up on Resin Maniacs. I'll put stuff up on the Jaeger Army, and I'll put everything that I do up on the Clubhouse.
Cool.
The reason why I use the Clubhouse, by the way, is because the format at the Clubhouse really lends itself to work in progress threads. Facebook just doesn't lend itself well to those sorts of things because it's so picture heavy and things get knocked down quickly. So I use the Clubhouse almost 100% for work in progress threads. So if anybody's interested in any of this, the Karloff kit was a work in progress, was a WIP thread on the Clubhouse.
Okay.
And most of the kits that I've done are WIP threads.
I will put a link down below to that. And again, it's the clubhouse1.net for people who don't know. But the link will be down below for that thread to find all the in progress up close pictures, not on your TV.
Yeah, I just started doing the Lawn of a Thousand Faces.
Cool.
Not really as a full blown work in progress on the Clubhouse, but I have some updated photos that I've posted.
Awesome. We'll get people over there. Trevor will like us. Over. All right, the shovel. Let's talk about the shovel, because this is my favorite thing. And it's so boring, but how do I when you see an old shovel, the wood has that kind of used, how do you even explain it? Because your shovel nails it. It's been handled by hands. Yes.
And so it's got the grime, it's got the grease from somebody's hands.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. So if you look at this shovel, it has that feel to it, and it has that grime and that perfect shiny edge where it keeps going into the ground and the scratches. So if you could just kind of walk us through this shovel, because I love it. I want to hear what you did.
So again, because I'm obsessed with trying to be as accurate as possible, I actually researched grave digger shovels.
And then the police showed up at your house.
Nobody should ever take a look at my search history.
Oh man!
So in researching grave digger shovels, I came across quite a few sites of century-old shovels, and they all shared the same thing. that edge that is shiny and worn, and the heavy, heavy rusting of the metal. So that's what I did here. So what I did was first assembled by attaching the blade to the shaft of the shovel, and I paid attention to the metal parts first. So I used a very dark rust on most of the blade, letting my brush run out of paint and just dry brushing as much as possible down toward the edge of the blade, knowing that I wasn't going to be rusting it. It was going to be silver. So there was no need for me to paint it. So I was heavy on the collar that attaches to the shaft, collar of the blade. The top part of the blade, where your foot would go on as you're digging a grave, that's what's going to have most of the moisture, most of the mud, most of the wear and tear and the rust. So that got heavily rusted, and most of the blade, except for, as you mentioned, on the front and on the back, where it would be scraping against the earth and would be constantly polished. So after the dark rust went in, I used two other lighter rusts sparingly where I thought the oxidation might have had been closer to the surface, where it might be wearing out, where he might need to replace it at some point because it's going to fall apart with the next grave that he tries to rob. So I varied the color to give it some life so that it wasn't flat. Sounds funny giving a grave robber shovel life, but I didn't want it to be flat. And then using an aluminum. Aluminum was better than silver. Aluminum was a brighter color to show something that had been polished repeatedly by going into the earth and hitting stone potentially, etc. Using aluminum, I just did the edge, and again, I dry brushed back from the edge up the blade in what I thought would be a pattern based on the reference photos that I had seen and my own imagination of what a shovel would be doing as somebody is digging with it. I brought that pattern back into the blade of the shovel. And for the shaft itself, I'm going to admit, this is not me. This is the fine folks who put together those Vallejo kits of paints. I have a wood and rust set, and the wood set was brilliant in giving me a very simple way to get the color that I wanted.
Gonna write
and
that
then
down.
I just kept, yeah, Vallejo's wood set is very good. You get a nice looking wood with that set, and of course it's all up to you to vary how light the wood is, how dark the wood is, and so that's where a little bit of the creativity and the artistry comes in to make it look the way you want it to look. You'll get the basics with the Vallejo set, but then it's up to you to get the look that you want beyond the basics.
Okay, so this is, I think most people, their first inclination to paint this would start silver, right? Everyone would just go, I'm going to paint this shovel silver because shovels are silver. Like that would be and you didn't. You started with the brown, and as I started to go to more miniature like weathering, watch more of their videos and some classes I took, and they're talking about pieces that are rusted, they rarely start by painting them silver. They're usually painted brown, like a rust color first, and then add little bits of silver in instead of trying to work hard and go backwards and erase all that silver you just did. So I think if people kind of put that in their brain and go, oh, I'm working a lot harder, and I could start out with the rusty, gross stuff, and just put that little bit of metal in there, and it works. It's so effective in this that I love it. In your research, are gravedigger shovels that short?
Yeah. I actually found when I was doing the research, I actually found one that looked exactly like this.
Really? Okay. Because
at
first, when I first saw the picture, I was like, "Oh, that looks like a short shovel." Is it for like foreshortening for the kit? But that's what they really look like. So cool.
I'm almost convinced that Jeff probably did research himself and probably came across the same photo.
I'm sure he did. He probably it's a gravedigger shovel, and then the police went to his house. Oh man! And the other really good detail I want people to notice, because this is another thing I think sometimes people, when you're just like one of those things that you might miss, the dirt on his hand.
Yes.
Like people would just go, he's holding the shovel, but his hands would be dirty. He's digging graves. So
that's what I figured.
Yes. Walk us through that. Any special technique? Did you just stipple it on? What'd you do to get that dirt on there?
It was really just a dry brushing, but it was a really careful dry brushing because I didn't want it to look like he had been digging in the dirt with his hands. He does have a shovel after all. So I didn't want the dirt to be overwhelming. But having done, manual labor jobs, when I was making my way through school, I know how dirty you can get and I know where the dirt ends up as you're cleaning yourself off. So there's a little bit of discoloration on the sleeves, on the shoulders, where he might have, brushed the dirt off of his hands. And so it's heavy on the fingertips, or heavier on the fingertips. It's on the inside of his hands because the dirt is going to end up on the shovel. It's going to end up on the palms of his hands as he's holding the shovel. He's going to be picking up a body out of a grave, and so his hands are going to be dirty primarily on the inside, but also on the outside. So using common sense, I just put the paint where I thought it should be and the way it might look after he's brushed off most of the dirt from his hand.
Okay. That really worked. The leaves, any special, do you have a go-to leaf brand or even the rusty gate that goes around it? You want to talk about that a little bit? I'm going to pull up some of their pictures while we're doing it.
Yep, not a problem. So I did get from Green Stuff World some leaf punches.
Aren't those
in a variety. Cool? There was elm, there was oak, I think there was maple, and then I just went into my backyard and I got some leaves and I punched the leaves. But Green Stuff World also sells a variety of leaves that you can use. So natural leaf litter is one that I have here. So this is a brown leaf. This one is more of a rust leaf. And this one is more of a yellowish, yellow-green leaf. And I usually take a small sample of each one, just a pinch of each one, put it into a jar, shake them up until I get a nice mixture, and I'll sprinkle those around as I see fit. I'll use PVA glue. I'll just a white glue, spritz it, get them sealed down, almost like a railroad modeler would do with seams. And I'll just I'll spray the ground with that, let it settle, spray it again to make sure it's fixed permanently in place. For the gate, again, it was a question of where do I think water is going to collect. In England and Scotland, I think where this film takes place, it rains quite a bit. In fact, the final scene in the film is during a raging rainstorm. So where would the rain collect, and how would that rain transfer, pool on the gate? Where would it go to? Where would it collect? And again, just using my own imagination of where the water might go. I was heavier in some places with the rust, lighter in other places. So on the main upright of the gate, water would slide down. It's not as rusty. On the horizontal bar, water wouldn't have as much of an opportunity to leave. It gets rustier. So it gets a darker, redder rust. So again, it was just really a case of common sense.
I really like that you thought about it. Like you think about where things are, and it really ends up, if people just take a moment to go, okay, how would this work in real life? It adds that little special extra something to your paint job. And I think it really helps. Instead of just, I'm going to throw some color down. Your moss color, that green towards the bottom, wash or something else dirty down. Have you tried that yet?
That was dry brushed, actually.
Okay.
I just mixed up a couple of greens that I had because the greens that I had out of the bottle, they just didn't look the way I wanted them to look. So I took a brighter green, a darker green, mixed them together, got something in between, and I just dry brushed it, again, knowing that moss is going to make its way from the ground up in a moist environment. And so that was all I did. I just discolored it that way, again, using common sense and my own observations.
Man, so simple, so effective, and such a great kit. Like it's one of those painter's pieces that I think, and you've seen it in the last few weeks as people are finishing up, it's popping up all over and people are having a real blast with it. It's really, really cool.
And I researched the Inverness code as well because I thought, okay, what color would it be? You gravitate toward the darker colors. It's a black and white film. And so you're probably going to be influenced by the black and white film. And you might say, okay, I'll use a charcoal. I'll use a black. Black is terrible. It's deadly. It'll just suck up all the light and it'll make it look flat. So black was off the table from the beginning. But I thought I might use a charcoal. I might use almost a bluish tint to the charcoal. And then I thought, you know what? I'll just I'll take black. I'll take yellow. I'll mix them together. I'll get a nice dark green. And I did research these coats to see in Victorian times what colors they might have been. I came across vivid blues, reds, burgundies. Those colors seemed a little bit too garish to me. I wanted something that wasn't what I mean. He's a cab driver and he's a grave robber. I don't think he wants to be running around in bright colors where people can spot him. So I gave it a dark color so that he might be able to blend into shadows, but I didn't want him to be Batman. You know,
Yeah, right.
I wanted to give him some color, but not something that would stand out.
I never would have thought mixing black and yellow. Like,
It gives a wonderful green.
I'm gonna totally try that one. That's because, and again, I hope people can kind of pick up. And again, follow the links down below to see the pictures up close, because there's some really subtle color changes in there that people, I think,
alter the ratios of black and yellow, and you'll get some nice variation.
I really like that. That's really good.
The beard and mustache, by the way, the 5 o'clock shadow, that was done using the same sort of technique of stippling in the paint. Because as we were talking earlier, getting away from pastels and trying something new, most of the color that I put in was stippled with just the tip of a 4.0 paintbrush. And I did the same thing with the 5 o'clock shadow and the stubble. Again, looking at Karloff's age at the time, looking at the character in the film, he does have a whitish gray stubble. So I put that in where it was sculpted in, primarily using gray as the underlying color. Then I used white on top of that to give it some life, and I sparingly used black to give it some depth. He does have black hair. He wouldn't be totally white. He would have a little bit of black in there. And again, it was stippled in just almost, not almost, it was a dot at a time. And it sounds labor intensive. It really isn't. When you're talking about an area that's only, a half an inch and a half an inch, it doesn't take that long to put in a few black dots to give it a little bit of life.
No, not at all. Could you imagine, like, if you did do a burgundy or a bright blue coat, like you said, you might have seen, like, how much it would change the piece. It would just change the whole feeling of everything to do that.
It would. And I was trying to get away from monochromatic. The base is quite large and it's stone. And so I didn't want to take something that was gray into something that was on the gray spectrum, either a charcoal or a black or another gray, even though I do have a gray lining on this coat. Knowing that the tunic that he wears underneath, or the shirt that he wears underneath, I think in the film it comes across as gray. I painted it as more of a yellowish brown, and then the scarf. So I tried to get away from the monochrome look and give it a little bit of life and a little bit of character.
I think, though, accidentally, and probably knowing you now, it probably wasn't an accident. The gray inside to the jacket really, it ties the whole thing together. It ties the figure to the base a little bit.
Well, this is it. I wanted to reference colors in other areas.
Yeah, you get that. And it's another thing that people, artists do it all the time, is you have to create movement throughout your piece. And by repeating colors in different areas, it keeps your eye moving around.
Allows the eye to keep going, yes.
Yeah, and it really does do that. And especially,
and so that's why the positioning of this shovel over the shoulder and giving that bright edge, it draws your eye to another place on the kit.
And I'm sure, knowing Jeff, this is all on purpose with the sculpture as well. So I'll do a little bit. I hit the wrong button. I went backwards. It, like, the way you look at art is you kind of art as in a painting. The way you look, artists do tricks to keep your eye on the piece. So if you look at where his eyes are looking, it's looking at the shovel. Like his eyes kind of direct you to the behind his head where that shovel is. But then you're like, oh, the shovel. And then you follow the shovel down to his hand, which then his hand is kind of pointing diagonally down to the base, which then brings you back up to his shoulder. And it's just the composition of the piece is so well done that it just keeps your eye going in a circle, looking at the whole thing. And then your paint job does the same thing with those colors that kind of repeat themselves around in the piece. And I just think it's really, really well done. And I'm sure all of it's on purpose. So it's just,
there was a bit of a plan.
Yes. And it's great. And it's knowing now that you research all this stuff intensely, it's great to hear that.
That's really that's really the fun of the hobby for me. It gives me an opportunity, because I'm a little bit of a history nut. I worked as a reporter for many, many years, and reporting and history is not that far removed from each other. So being a bit of a history nut and being in this hobby, I looked into Laugh Clown Laugh. I wanted to know more about the film. I wanted to know more about the characters. I looked into the Body Snatcher. It gives you an opportunity to find other photos of Karloff. I did find a color photo that was more or less from the same time period. And so I used that as the basis for determining the coloration in his face. Same thing with the Chaney kit that I'm working on. I couldn't find any color photos of Chaney, but there are plenty of color photos of Ron Chaney. And I think the family resemblance is quite strong between the two. So I'm basing the color here on this Chaney kit on Ron Chaney's skin coloring.
Let's talk about the Laugh Clown Laugh real quick. I'm going to throw that up so people can kind of see that. I got it. There we go. Again, for people, like, you can see the hands. You can see the hand really well done in there. But that yellow is one of the worst colors, as you probably have to try and get. Do you have a go-to yellow that you like that kind of, and this is more of a paler yellow, but yellow in general sucks.
Yellow in general sucks. Yes. But I don't have a go-to because they're all terrible. Yes. People know that black covers everything, and they know that applying white is very difficult. I would say yellow is worse than white in trying to cover something.
So then, right here, this kit is a nightmare in general because it's white and yellow.
It is. So again, in order to get away with as much as I could easily, everything was primed in white on this kit, except for the face. So the skull, the head was done in rust as per usual. Everything else was primed in white so that I wasn't fighting when I put the yellow in. I could just spray the yellow in a few coats. It took a few coats to get the yellow the way I wanted it. And then when I finally did get the yellow the way I wanted it, I didn't like it. It was too dark. So I went back and I lightened the yellow and lightened it until I got to something that I thought would be suitable or acceptable to me. In looking at the reference photos, I noticed, I'm not sure if it was there, but it was something that I perceived, a slight variation in tone between the sleeves of the costume that he's wearing and the ruff around his neck. It seemed to me that there was a difference in value. And if there's a difference in value, there's generally a difference in color. It may not be attributed just to the lighting on the set or for the promotional photo that was taken. So because I observed what I thought was a change in value, I made it a different color. But as close to white as possible. What's as close as white to possible as possible? Yellow.
Yeah. The stripes. How did was there something special? Just oh man.
And painted. I toyed with masking them.
I was just going to ask, did you mask that? But masking through those ruffles would be a complete nightmare.
That was the hardest part because I started out putting the masking tape around the first time and I sprayed the red. And then when I took off the masking tape, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Fortunately, that came when I had applied the darker yellow. So it gave me an opportunity to deal with the problem that I saw with the yellow being too dark. So everything got a white primer again to get rid of the red and to get rid of the yellow. I started from scratch. I went with a lighter yellow, and then I just bit the bullet and hand painted everything. So as you can imagine, 3 times around, yellow, green, blue, and then having to do the sleeve as well, the cuff of the sleeve through all those ridges and ripples. It took a week to do it.
It looks great. The face. So you started with the rust and built your way up. Did you do a normal flesh and then do white over it as like a makeup, or did you just go straight to white?
Almost. So I can't take the head off because I really epoxied it in place, but I did have the face done in rust, and then I turned it away so that I wasn't, creating more work for myself. I turned it away from the spray can and I sprayed most of the cap in white so that I wasn't working against myself. I then, as I described earlier, I went through my usual process of putting in a flesh, but I only did 1 or 2 steps. I sprayed down at like a 45-degree angle with a pale flesh, and that was pretty much where I stopped. I didn't do any washes. I didn't do any speckling. I didn't do any of that because it was going to be covered up. but I was very careful in misting the white. I wanted you to be able, like I can see it right here in front of me. The camera probably is not able to pick it up, but I wanted you to be able to see a difference in the white that's on the face and the white that's on the cap. The white that's on the cap is artificial. He's wearing something that's probably made of either leather or cloth, and it's white. There's no doubt about it. It's white. But his skin under the makeup, I wanted just a little bit of that skin to show through. So it's very, very subtle. In some places on the kit, when you're looking at it in person, you can see a little bit of pinkish flesh showing through as a shadow, nothing more than a shadow. It is primarily white, don't get me wrong. But there's in some places you can see just a little bit, and that was the effect that I was going for. I wanted you to know that there was a human underneath that makeup.
Yeah, for sure. People also, this is a great way to look at his hand up. Another hand close up picture. There's some really good vein work in there. So, wow, well done. Let's go through some of the other ones. I got a Mummy and a Wednesday Addams. There we go. More pinstripes. You love your stripes, dude. What's going on?
Every time I do them, I swear it's the last time I'm going to do them.
It looks great.
But with this kit, I think this was sculpted by Joe Simon, and I think it's available through Blackheart now.
Okay.
I bought it directly from Joe when I saw him come out with it about a year or so ago, just after the Netflix series landed. And my spouse loved the show, so I got that for her.
Awesome.
And painted it up. Yeah. But the pinstripes are actually, if I recall correctly, they're sculpted in, so they're much easier to do. Much easier to do.
Yeah. That's always fun. But then I always the purist in me was like, you wouldn't see lines in there. I don't like a lot of 3D print guys will take if they have a tattoo or one of my biggest, Scott has his own beefs with 3D printing. Mine is there's this beautiful Harley Quinn that has the t-shirt that she wears and all that stuff from the movie, but it's raised up off the shirt. It almost looks like it's a patch that's on the shirt. A t-shirt wouldn't look like that, and it drives me nuts. It's easy for people to paint, but it wouldn't look like that. So sometimes there's that fine line where I'm like, well, it makes it easier to paint stripes, but I wish it wasn't if I get making the groove for the stripes, to do that. So it's a stripe, but they're all the same level. But I've seen people raise one stripe up and sink the other back. And then I'm like, well, that doesn't look right. It doesn't look
well,
like
I mean, stripes. If you put your hand on your jacket, you're not going to feel the stripes.
Exactly. Man. All right. And then the next, and you have a mummy there. Any mummy tips for a dirty old mummy?
With that one, I actually used that mummy colored that I was referring to earlier, that creamy off-white. So that was dry brushed very, very lightly. I was barely touching the kit as I was doing the raised areas, just to because the underlying skin is much darker. I had an opportunity years ago to actually see mummies up close. They were being taken from a local museum to a local hospital and put through an MRI machine because the researchers wanted to know what was under the wrappings. So as a reporter, I actually got to observe this firsthand. So I can tell you that mummies they're chocolate brown. The skin is chocolate brown, but you can't have that on film because it just doesn't work. It doesn't look like it should get up and walk around. So I gave it sort of a rusty base coat and then built up from there, but making sure that most of the underlying skin was dark. And then, as I say, on the raised areas, it got just a light brushing of this off-white color to make the wrinkles pop a little bit. On one mummy that I did, I made it dry by adding, I think it's called base from Tamiya. And if you've never used base from Tamiya, it's like this chalky paste that you add to your paint, and it will flatten anything down as flat as possible. It's really, really good to use.
I will check that out too.
If you're looking for that texture or that look, just add Tamiya base. I believe it's called Tamiya base to any paint, and it will deaden it right away.
Wow. Okay. Great. I did not know that. Lucy? Am I right? Is it Lucy?
Lucy.
Yes. White is another pain, like we talked about, pain in the butt color, and this thing's all white.
Yeah, that one's all white. Again, watching the film and getting as many stills as I could. This was a kit that Saul Alvarez puts out from his Silver Screen Icons
Mhm.
site with the wedding frills, all 3D printed. That again, because most of her face was going to be done in white, much like the Laugh Clown Laugh, I did just the basic flesh that I needed to do, and then made her as deathly white as I thought was appropriate, looking at the production stills.
I think that's a really good dead skin color. Well, vampire, not dead because she's not a zombie, but like a vampire, very good pale, and it still has some of that pink in there. And I think it's a great choice in colors. So even on her hand, like you can tell with the palm of her hand there, I really like what you did there. But talk a little bit about balancing that, because you have everything's white. So you have to balance, like you have to somehow separate that. Was there a way you were like, well, I'm going to do this, like I put a drop of this or a drop of that to kind of balance it out?
I mean, you talk about white. I remember reading an article in AFM some years ago. I can't remember who the artist was who had done Ming the Merciless, that resin kit based on the 1980s movie.
Mm-hmm.
And primarily the color in that kit is red because he's wearing this massive robe, massive collar. It's all red. And the article talked about how do you make it pop because it's all one color. Well, it's not all one color. We're going to be using different tones, different values of red throughout in order to differentiate the different parts of the costume. So I'm certain I kept that in mind when I was doing this, knowing that the wedding veil, the wedding hat, her face, what she's wearing was all going to be white. So how do I make it pop? I know that I'm going to be using pearl for the satin, so a pearl white for the hat in order to make that pop. I'll use pearl. I think I used pearl on the sleeve.
It looks like
the hand was done. Yeah, the hand was done sort of in a pale flesh. Might have gotten just a little bit of white, but as you mentioned, I think the palm reads a little bit more as a regular human skin, even if it's a lighter human skin. The face, I think, is where it's mostly white.
The collar has a bit of purple or lavender or blue, some that does help.
Again,
in one picture, it might be the lighting too, but
I needed to break it up because it's a big ruff that goes around her neck, and in the film, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a satin white, and there might be some silver in there. I know there's silver around the collar. That got dry brushed over the highlighted areas in order to separate it from the main color that takes up the ruff around her neck.
Yeah, that's great. And then we're back to London After Midnight. We pretty much covered that, but if there's anything else London, like building wise, someone's working on this, any tips or?
Well, on the wall hanger, no. I mean, it's really just the hat and the hand. It's a 3-part wall hanger. The hand, the one thing that prevented me from being able to stand it up on a shelf. It's not a 360 kit, but I could almost stand it up on a shelf. But the hand drops down just a smidge below the bottom of the kit, and so you can't stand it up on a shelf. You'd have to rest it on the edge of the shelf. So it's a wall hanger. So if you're going to display it anywhere and you don't want to put it on a wall, you'll just have to put it on a shelf, but make sure it doesn't tip over frontwards.
Awesome. And then I think the last slide I got here, I have a Joker and your Edgar Allan Poe together in the same slide.
Oh, yeah, the Joker. I really love the Joker. Again, this is another kit that has a white face. And really just to break it up, I had to paint in shadows in order to give the piece some life. So I say paint in, but I think what I actually used in this case was pastel. I think I used if I'm not mistaken, I have my pan pastels here. I used Payne's Gray, according to this chart.
Okay.
I used Payne's Gray around the nose and mouth, around the eyes, in order to give it a little bit of life, a little bit of depth.
Is there something special sealant? What do you use as a sealer in general?
When you can find it, because it's getting harder and harder to find, I still use dull coat. Sometimes when you're using dull coat, you can find that depending on the humidity where you are or how much is left in the can, you may end up with chalky residue on your kit. If I find that the can is starting to do that, then I do have another sealer beside me, and that's made by Vallejo. There is Krylon. I haven't been able to find Krylon in my area in a long time, so I do have a couple of cans of Vallejo standing
I'm gonna have to try that Vallejo one. I've been trying the bear one that Anna Shatina recommended from Home Depot, but I've noticed that that one is so flat that it almost does that humidity thing like a lot for me, more than the testers ever did. So I'm gonna have to try that Vallejo one.
Vallejo hasn't given me any problems, but I find it's not as reliable as the dull coat. The
Okay.
Vallejo one, I find if I have to go back over the kit, maybe apply another wash or another layer, and I make a mistake and I want to remove something, I'll find that now I'm starting to affect the coat that I had put in before the Vallejo sealer. So it's maybe not as efficient a sealer as the dull coat is.
Gotcha. And the Edgar Allan Poe looks awesome. That is
I
such a
love
cool
that.
kit.
I love that. It's such a great caricature of him,
Yes.
isn't it? I
It
just
captures
love that
it perfectly.
The
Really
mournful eyes.
Totally. And I have a Bella Lugosi.
Bela
When you
Lugosi.
everyone kind of paints theirs different. What do you tend to like to do? Because I think it was Saul that was on when he was talking about it that originally described he couldn't be too pale because he's got to blend in with normal people. But then if it looks too human, then it doesn't really look like a vampire. So what do you like to do when it comes to your vampire skin?
So I just like to, when it comes to Bela Lugosi as Dracula, I just like to paint him as a suave, sophisticated, aristocratic, normal person who just happens to prey on humans and drink their blood. So I don't do anything different with him than I wouldn't do with any other regular male character. I really paint him as a regular human. I give him regular flesh color. He is drinking blood. Otherwise, he would stand out as death on two legs. So he has to, because he's drinking blood, he has to have some sort of a complexion that people will recognize as a regular complexion. So I paint him as I think Bela Lugosi probably looked on set.
I think it's great. I think it works perfect. I think going back at one that I did, a Bella, I did it too white. And now I kind of wish I didn't. I could go back and do it this way. Your Catwoman? I have your Catwoman and the Bride of Frankenstein together. Again, two really good eyes next to each other and skin that's similar but different. Any like thing you want to say about those?
So when it came to the Bride, you get funny looks when you're a guy my age walking into the cosmetic section looking for false eyelashes. Because both of these kits have false eyelashes.
Yeah.
When I got the Frankenstein monster kit from George and brought it home, I was told, "Great, you can put it up, but there needs to be a female character that goes up as well. So you better find a female character." So I was overjoyed when he put out the Bride, because now I could put both up side by side in the house and I wouldn't get too much grief. So in dealing with the Bride, I wanted her to be glamorous, as odd as that sounds. We're talking about a female figure, so I wanted the female figure to exude femininity. I wanted her to be feminine, wanted her to look like a woman, wanted her to be the desirable mate of the monster, but she's also a monster. So if you look really closely, and again, you probably have to be in my house looking at it really up close in order to see, she does have the veining, the red and blue veining that I noodled all over her face. And then the flesh went in on top of that, the lighter flesh color went on top of that. This was done years ago prior to me changing my techniques. Today, if I were to do it, I'd probably do it a little bit differently with the washes and the speckling. But back then, as I was learning how to do this, I restricted myself to some basics. So it was done in gray, not white. It was done in gray because I wanted it to look dead.
Yeah.
It got the noodling because I wanted you to be able to see some of the veining. It got the flesh on top of that. And then I really focused on the details that make her a woman. So the ruby lips, the eyes, the eyelashes. I wanted her to look glamorous, but I wanted her to look like a glamorous monster.
Eyelashes
and for
are
Catwoman, Eyelashes are important. Without the eyelashes, that kit looks different.
All of them. And it's something that this was going back. I remember, oh man, it was, I think, my second Wonderfest, and my friend Lance Woods, he had done the busts, and I think they were quarter scale. And it was Scully and Mulder. And he's like, man, I couldn't figure out what didn't look right about him for a long time. And he's like, I figured it's they don't have eyelashes. And even on a quarter scale kit, not having eyelashes, like it's noticeable. Like if you start looking for it, it's like, man, eyelashes. And that's one good thing about 3D printing is a lot of times I've noticed guys starting to put eyelashes in there that are printable, even if it's like especially if it's a cartoony kind of, like where they can kind of just fake it and you can paint the eyelashes in on this little like thing that does that, because it goes especially on a 1/1 scale thing. Anything 1/1 scale, if it's missing eyelashes, it's gonna look weird, and you're gonna be like, what's weird about it? I can't figure. And it's eyelashes a lot of times.
In the old Model Mania videos, David Fisher was talking about, how to put in eyelashes and, how far to go toward the center of the eye, how far to go on the outside, whether you should have it on a male character versus a female character, upper and lower eyelashes. And for the longest time, I was painting them in that one line, especially on the lower lid for male and female characters. However, I then tried putting them in because, nobody has solid eyelashes. There's always skin in between. So I started to use a paintbrush, and I would just dot them in. Sometimes that becomes a little hard to work with. And so I went to my next favorite solution, a pencil. And that's what happened on the Karloff kit, and that's what happened on the Cheney kit. I just took a very sharp pencil, and I just very daintily, very carefully, just dabbed in the lower eyelashes on the characters. So up close, you will see that the lower eyelashes are there, and I've done the same thing on the upper eyelashes. It's subtle. You may not notice it, but there's something about the way the kit looks that will register with you. That'll say, okay, that looks normal.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my other screen that's bigger, and you can totally see it on that lower eyelid.
Yeah.
Even on the top, you get in it, and it helps. Really need to do that when it comes to some.
The Catwoman kit I really liked. I mean, I just bought that on a lark off of eBay because I wanted something to paint, and this is a Mike Hill sculpt. It's supposed to be a 1-to-1, but it's slightly smaller than a 1-to-1 scale. And I thought it was a cool character when the film came out. I still think it's an iconic character.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted something to paint. And again, I needed to put a female character in the house in order to be able to put up more of the male characters. And I ultimately ended up selling it to somebody who was interested. So
awesome. Well, what do you got? You're working on right now? You're working on Lon Chaney. Anything else you're working on?
I always have multiple projects on the go, but one always ends up taking precedence over another. So Lawn of the Thousand Faces is what I'm finally focusing on now. I do have, can I get it? I think I can get it. Bear with me.
Sure.
I'm sure this is a kit a lot of people would kill for. So this one has been on the shelf for a while as well. I started Celine quite a while ago, and then she ended up on the back burner for a while. So after Lawn is done, I'll be moving on to this one.
Very cool. Can't wait to see that. Who made that? Yeah, which kit is it? It's.
If I'm not mistaken, I think this was C&D Nightmares, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. C&D.
C&D. I think they put out two kits.
Oh, that's a great name. Awesome.
I think they. Well, the reason I remember it is cease and desist.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
If I'm not mistaken, they put out two Celine kits. There was the one where she's walking on the roof ledge, and there's this one where she's blasting the floor, and she ultimately drops down through the floor.
With the circle.
This one was the one that was a little bit more interesting to me because of the way the coat flows, and I thought the likeness was bang on.
Cool.
So this one will be up next after Lawn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Derek, for joining us. This was awesome. I think this went really well as a first guinea pig test to do a little walkthrough on a kit, and I will do this more. And I will absolutely have you back again to maybe walk us through maybe Lon Chaney or something else that you're working on in the future. This was fantastic. Are you going to
Been my
Wonderfest? You
pleasure.
don't? Do you come down to Wonderfest ever from way up
I
there?
went to Wonderfest. I went to Wonderfest. I think it was 2021 or 2022. I think it was 2022. I went.
Okay.
But I live in Canada,
Yeah.
and the difference between the Canadian dollar and the American dollar is about 40%. So as I said to somebody recently, you really got to love the hobby if you're a Canadian, because you're paying 40% more for just about everything. Going to Wonderfest, the one time I went, was the equivalent. I went for one weekend myself. It was the equivalent of the two of us, my spouse and I, going to the Caribbean for a week at an all-inclusive. So that's not going to happen again for a while.
You made the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Should have went to the Caribbean. Oh man. But and that sucks that the East Coast shows. That's easy for you, I'm sure, a little closer and stuff.
It was fantastic. I loved going to Jersey Fest because it was a 5-hour drive. I could take what I wanted to put into contest. It's so much harder for me to, box things up, put them on a plane, go to Louisville and put things into a contest. It's just not going to happen.
It's something I guess, and I know there's other people I've talked to too that have to fly to Louisville, and to think about packing a box to get on an airplane to go to a show like that. And I'm totally spoiled because I can drive there. It's, I just load up the car and go over there. It's all good. But to have to fly there would be nuts. I went to Resentopia one year and I really liked that show. I wish, Vin was still around and we still could have done something like that. But East Coast needs a show, especially for our Canadian people up in that area. I know Scotty Mills is up there and some other people.
East Coast needs a show desperately. Yeah. I really miss Jersey Fest.
So thank you, Derek. This was awesome. It was great having you on. And I really
thank you for having me. Much appreciated. Very flattered that you asked me to do this.
Absolutely. We'll have you back. Thanks, man.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. That was awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
I hope people enjoyed it. There's some really good tips in there, and I hope people, write things down as you're watching or go back, and there's some great interview. I wrote down the base TAM from Tamiya. It flattens your paint, which I didn't know about. So I'm gonna go check that out. I think
base what? Base tan?
It's called base TAM, and it's like a flattening additive or something. That Tamiya makes. All right. We're up to emails, voicemails, and corrections. We're almost done, Scott. Here we go. For those of you that want to leave us a voicemail, it is 708-816-4299. 708-816-4299. Keep them to a minute or less. It really helps us out. And please try and be nice. Nice email, nice voicemails are nice. And then if you want to send us an email, modelclubtv@gmail.com. I read them all. Might take a little while to respond because I'm really bad. But here we go. All right. We have one correction from last episode. And even reminded me about it beforehand. Braden Minton is not Braydon Minton. Fingers just went to Braydon and not Braden. So Braden Minton, I apologize. Next time, send us something. I'll make sure it's an E and not an O. First email is from Chuckamoka, who always sends us some cool stuff to check out. And it is, Green Stuff World has a bunch of plinths for sale. So head on over to Green Stuff World and check out their plinth displays. There is someone else here stateside that makes some really good plinths. I'll bring it up next episode. I can't remember right now the guy's name. Their bases. For people that don't know what a plinth is, we're not looking at the screen.
You sound like Mike Tyson.
Plinth.
Yeah, give me a plinth. Plinth.
So there's that. Then we have an email. Let me get back out of here that I would like to read. From Brian Wilkinson. Another great show. Excellent interview with George Stevenson. Great insight into behind the scenes of the GK hobby. Just thinking, if what you think will happen in regards to 3D versus traditional, where will this leave the model show, particularly Wonderfest in the USA and UKGK in the UK? As they are mainly a figure show, yes, people can still bring their builds to the show, but it's the dealers that really fund the show. What are they going to sell? Just prints? Food for thought. I've included a few shots recently done to make sure of 3D stuff. Brian's got some stuff in the gallery. There's some really cool stuff in the gallery coming this episode. Scott, where do you think it leaves model shows? I think that's a discussion worth having, maybe worthy of a whole episode of the future.
Yeah, when it's not 11:32, and
I know. What is the
Um,
future of Wonderfest and the model show in general? Now knowing that Jersey Fest, as of right now, isn't happening this year.
So I think what you're going to have is, you're going to see more printed things. But here's going to be the problem. So a lot of guys get on these Patreons and they get the rights to print stuff. You do, a couple other guys do, and they do. And so now you're going to be competing price-wise for the same shit. Okay? So you got that going. So I think you'll start to see less of that. You'll see more stuff like Dave Horvath's doing, where people are just doing their own thing and whatever. You'll still have a few traditional garage kit guys, but I think you're going to start to run into more guys selling stuff off. So.
I mentioned it before. I think it's really just going to become estate sales and people selling off their collections. And I think those people who have been looking for some grail kits, that is what's going to happen. Is you're going to see some grail kits that you've been looking for starting to pop up at the shows. The thing that's going to keep Wonderfest alive is the sci-fi guys in terms of dealers and people showing up, whereas the figure guys are going to start to move more towards other stuff. And like you said, if you're printing the same stuff as the guy next to you at the same table, you're going to show up with the same things, which I run the risk of because anybody can buy that license. And I think you're right. I think more people are going to do it David Horvath style and pay a sculptor, start printing your own stuff, and show up with a few things there. So I don't know. I'd like to hear everyone else's opinions down in the comments. Where do you think the model shows will be in the next 5 to 10 years?
And when you comment, because I realize this is a hard subject for some people, comment what you want it to be, what you think it should be. I mean, really look at it and examine it. What do you think it's going to be? Not what you want it to be. For me, we'd go back to the 90s, late 90s.
Our last email is a grail mail. Mitchell McCown is looking for, from Needful Things, these two Frankenstein models, the Grinning and what was the other one? I'm trying to remember if you remember the name. If you know or have a lead on one of these two kits, look up Mitchell McCown over on Facebook. I could always forward it to him if you find it or have one you want to get rid of. Scott, do you have either of these kits?
I do not.
Wow. Okay. So that's our grail mail. And that brings us...
Grr.
Yeah, it's the Grr. That's what it was. That brings us to the end of the show, Scott. Thank you, Derek Conlon, for coming on. We are tired. It's almost midnight. we are trying to get this out. We'll see everyone at Wonderfest. We're going to do some live streaming on the way down there. And from the show. We are. Because you're driving me, remember? Yes. All right. Everybody have a great episode. Everyone have safe travels to Wonderfest. Thank you, everyone who sent in videos. And those of you not going to Wonderfest. Oh, I'm going to have Malort. I'm bringing the Malort. For people that were interested and wanted to try Malort that we talked about on the Discord. Scott doesn't know because he doesn't drink. It's the Chicago staple. Shots of Malort in the Wonderfest area. We'll see everybody later. Bye, everybody. Check out the gallery. Lots of cool stuff. You're out of focus. God damn it. Test recording now.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm talking. Is Scott
Oh,
talking?
Great. God, you're talking. I love to hear you talk.
Why are you so mean to me?
God, look at. Oh, God, man, am I getting fat? I better sit up. Oh, I won't look so fat today. Maybe my light makes me look fat. I better adjust my light so I'm not so fat. There we go. Wow. Fucking light adds 20 pounds.
Oh, not the cheeseburgers.
Not the sweet tea I'm drinking right now.
Yeah. What's what? A bucket of salt, of sugar in. There's probably salt. Is there salt in your sweet tea?
Well, I have salt right here.
Oh, okay. All right.